Good afternoon. It is MazzaMedia live Saturday, January 10th. I thought it was the 11th. It's January 10th, 2026. And we are live and ready to go here. I got a lot of stuff to talk about today. So it's going to be a really, basically, I'm calling it a super show. I guess that's another term for a variety show, I guess, of topics. But we got a lot to cover. We're going to talk about Karen Read and the Lifetime movie that's airing tonight at 8 o'clock. We're going to talk about Commissioner Cox. We're going to talk about Kelsey Fitzsimmons. We are going to talk about the NFL playoffs at the back end of the show. So we'll do all the true crime stuff early in the show. Then towards the end, we'll switch over to the NFL and get going on that, talk about that. Should be a good show today. I'm looking forward to that. Welcome, everybody that's joining the show here, starting to matriculate in. Originally, I was going to do the show at 11:30. But I got a little bit, busy, and then so well, maybe I'll just push it back to 12:15. And then all of a sudden, I had this idea in my head about how I wanted to talk about the Karen Read Lifetime movie, and I got this idea to do a PowerPoint presentation. And then I looked at the clock; it was like 12 o'clock. I'm like, I'm not going to be ready to set everything up in that window of time. So I said, all right, this is what we'll do. We'll go ahead and just bump the show back a little bit more to 12:30. And go live. Looks like someone's tuning in for their first live ever. Hi, this is my first live sent here from Nurse Kim's show. I hope this is a solid channel. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You'll see. Well, it's going to be you to determine that, right? Absolutely. Welcome, Cleopatra. Tracy's in the house with her freed license plate sign. Tracy's a very good woman. I met her many times. Heather. Hi, Heather, as well. Hope you're doing good today. And anyone know how to watch the Karen Read movie in the UK? I guess it depends on how Lifetime is airing that. I would also check to see into streaming, if it is streaming as well. All I know is that it's airing on Lifetime tonight. I don't know if it's going to be on an app like Hulu or something. I'm not sure, but it's go to Google, run a search, see if there's any information there on how you can watch that in the UK tonight. Lux is here. Hope you're doing well today. Rye is here. Hope you're doing well. Cheryl, hope you're doing good today. I might have said hi to Heather already. All right, I think I got everybody so far. Mary, hope you're doing well. Sarah B. Creative, full of questions. Barbara's here. Hope you're doing well. Sarah B. Creative, always see you on Twitter. Hope you're doing good. Thanks for always being a loyal follower of the show. So, yeah, it's going to be a few topics. I had a busy day yesterday, and quite honestly, watched the Indiana game against Oregon. And for me, I'm just really hyped up today. It's a big day of NFL football. The Bears and Packers are on at 8, but the Karen Read movie is also on at 8. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch the movie on the TV, and then I'm going to have my phone playing the game so I can watch that. The game's going to be on Amazon Prime tonight, so I think I'm going to watch the movie on TV. I'd love to do like a show where we actually had like the movie playing tonight, and I could be live and talk about the whole movie, and we can kind of go through it piece by piece. But at the same time, I also kind of like to sit back and enjoy too, like without having to commentate. But it would be cool to do like a reaction show, which would be awesome. If you sit here and you watch the movie, but I don't know what the legality is of doing a show where you're actually, because I just can't stream the movie live. So, right, like a watch party, exactly, Canton Chronicle. A good show right there. Subscribe to Canton Chronicle, folks. They're on YouTube as well. Good people over there. They're taking care of the town of Canton, fighting for their town. But I guess you could do like a webinar, but I don't know if there's like an issue with like doing like a private webinar, restreaming a movie, because I think any redistribution or whatever, would be like, I don't know what the rules are or the legality is there. So Scott McGinnis is in the house. What's going on, Scott? He says, I fully expect the Lifetime movie to be laughably awful. My big question for you, Scott, is will they have a Scott McGinnis character in that movie? That's the big question that I have. Will they feature Scott McGinnis out there as well? Ernie, hope you're doing well. We got Karen here today. Thunder Horse in the house. Hi, Karen. Karen 66. Scooter says it's considered a retransmission. Lee Trainer, hope you're doing well today. Hi, Mazza. I have always watched, but never chat. I'm glad you're doing a super show today. Yeah, absolutely. So it's great to see you too, DCN. Hope you're doing good. And all right, we're going to get going here. Oh, thank you so much, Caitlin. I do appreciate it. Oh, Caitlin and Kate, hope you're doing well. It's been a while. Hope you're doing good. You've been an awesome supporter of Karen Reed through and through for a long time as well. So absolutely. Good to see you here. Thanks for tuning in. And hope you're doing good today. All right. Yeah, FCC rules. Yeah, I know. It's one of those things where you wish you could just go live, air it, but then you'd get hit with copyright claims and all that. I pondered doing today's show by actually playing the trailer, but I don't know if the video is going to get hit with copyright claims. So what I decided to do is I've done screenshots. I put them in a PowerPoint presentation, and we're going to go through shot by shot. We're going to do a live reaction to it and just kind of go through it, kind of preview tonight's movie. I originally just planned to do a show tomorrow recapping the movie, but I woke up this morning and I'm like, I really want to do a show today. And tomorrow I'm just going to do a strict review. So that will be good. Thank you so much, Caitlin. Appreciate it. Sentiments right back to you. Thank you. Nancy, hope you're doing good today. All right. Yeah, this will be good. Donkey is in the house. I like this Donkey Batman image here. Hey, good sir. Hope you have a blessed day. Thank you. You too. All right. So let's get cracking here. So the Karen Reed movies tonight at 8 o'clock on Lifetime. I've put together a PowerPoint presentation for you guys today. Let's just see what the better view. So I can go between this and that. Okay. All right. I'll bounce between this. Oh, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. Well, hey, this is a great comment because this is something I wanted to talk about. So Courtney from Florida, I hope you're doing well. Says, Mazza, don't you feel like you've lived this movie already? I was going to say, one of the biggest things about tonight's movie is this is the first time for all of us, I'd say, that there's ever been a made-for-TV movie based on real life that all of us in some way, shape, or form have either been a part of. And I mean, it's not like when another true crime movie happens and we all follow it. And then they make a movie. It's like, oh yeah, I remember when they, OJ did that or OJ didn't do that, whatever, or this happened, like the Aaron Hernandez thing they did, like, oh, I remember when this happened. Like for us, when they show Karen Reed supporters holding signs and over, highways holding signs, that is legitimately actors portraying people like ourselves. When they show people outside the courthouse, that is legitimately people like ourselves that actually had an active level of participation in this as supporters. And, we just did so much. We had people outside the court. We had people in town centers. We had national standouts. We had people over highways. We've had content creators. We've had boots on the ground. We've had people donating. It's just, you see that and it's like, oh my goodness, those people that are standing there with those free Karen Reed shirts are essentially you guys. It's essentially all of us. It's absolutely unheard of that we've ever did this. So, but I'll say this: I'm sure this movie is going to be flawed to a degree. I'm sure it's going to be laughable to a degree. I'm sure they're going to get things wrong. But I admit, I'm actually very excited for tonight's movie. I'm excited to watch it. I'm excited to, see a portrayal in this kind of form. Like we've seen the documentaries, but the documentaries, while some of them have been good, some of them, I think it was 2020 or something did it. It was horrible. Those are just taking footage clips and editing them together, with interviews and all that. But this is actually like someone casting actors, because we all like fantasy. We've done shows and other shows have done this where we've fantasized about which actors should play which characters, and who should play who. And for me, I'm excited about getting to see these actors play these roles. Now, I like Katie Cassidy as Karen Reed. I will tell you right now, this actress, I think a lot of times, like with Superman movies, for example, with Superman movies have always, for the most part, had good casting choices because they pick actors that you don't know. Nobody really knew who Henry Cavill or Christopher Reeve or the latest guy to play Superman were prior to them playing Superman. And it kind of works. And a lot of times when a known actor plays that character, you don't know if it's going to work or not. So I kind of like an actress here who I've never heard of, who probably has a really good resume of acting, plays this role because she looks pretty solidly like Karen Reed. For an actress portraying her in a role, that's a really good portrayal right there. Like I can definitely watch this movie And oh, David Cassidy's daughter. Interesting. I could definitely watch this movie and get caught up in watching it and say, okay, yeah, I can buy into her being Karen Reed for 2 hours for sure. No question about it. But David Cassidy's daughter, yes. But yeah, I can definitely buy into this for sure. So I'm excited. I'm pumped up. I'm looking to see how they portray this. I would say the early indication that I get, I feel like this is going to be a favorable portrayal towards Karen. In other words, they're going to go for more of the, you know, framed woman, murder cover up, fighting for truth. They're not going to get into like, I don't think they're going to get into the 50-50 all that much. And when I show you some of these images later throughout this program today, I'm going to break it down a little bit more as to why. So I've cut 23 images, put them in a PowerPoint slide, and we're going to break them down. Now, what I like about movies that portray reality is I want to see a level of consistency. Yeah, honestly, great comment. You get good comments today, Courtney. I don't watch Lifetime. I don't know if I've ever, the only time I've ever watched Lifetime in my life that I'm aware of was when Unsolved Mysteries was on Lifetime in the 90s and early 2000s, if they were still on at that point. But yeah, that's the only time I've ever been excited in my life, or that I know that I've ever watched Lifetime. I don't know if there's been like Supermarket Sweep or something used to be on Lifetime. I don't know. I don't know if I have at one point in my life watched like a made for TV, Lifetime, whatever. But yeah, Lifetime is not a channel. To Courtney's point here, because this is a funny conversation. To Courtney's point, yes, I don't watch Lifetime, but because this is one of those exceptions to the rules. It's like, you know, when you have an actress or actor you're not a fan of and you've never watched their movie, but yet, like for example, I would never watch a Julia Roberts movie ever, but one of my favorite movies with Julia Roberts ever is Ocean's 11. So it always happens. Like there's always like that actor you can't stand or actress you can't stand, but they always have like that one movie that you just have to watch. And you're like, oh man, Ocean's 11's fantastic. And it's the opposite for actors you love. It's like Sylvester Stallone's my favorite actor of all time, but yet he made Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. And he made that movie with, who's the blonde singer there? Rhinestone. He made Rhinestone with Dolly Parton. Okay, that's a movie I would never watch. I just want to say that straight up. Actually, you know what? You're right. Julia Roberts was in Hook, and that was a great movie with Julia Roberts. Okay, so maybe there's two Julia Roberts movies that I like, because Hook was a great movie. Loved that movie when I was a kid. That movie was awesome. So, but no, you got a great point, Sarah. That's for sure. Hook was a great movie too. But yeah, that's a good point. But I'm not going to watch like what other movies has she made? Like Sleeping with the Enemy. What's the movie with Richard Gere? Whatever that movie is. That movie, yeah, I'm not going to watch that. But for Lifetime movies, like this is the one time like I'm sitting down like I got to watch Lifetime tonight. I got to watch a Lifetime movie. This is because this is Karen Reed stuff. Okay, Pretty Woman. Okay, gotcha. Someone goes, oh come on, Pretty Woman. That's funny. So yeah, Richard Gere and Julia Roberts. I've never seen that movie, if you can believe that or not. But yeah, it's not a movie exactly that I'm gonna go to the video store when I'm 14 years old and say I'd like to rent Pretty Woman. No, it's not happening. I'm gonna watch like Rambo 2, or you know, a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie like Universal Soldier, or Arnold Schwarzenegger and Eraser, something like that. Common Sense Investigators in the house. Hope you're doing good today. And we got Dana Leonard in the house as well. Blockbuster Video you miss. I do too. I miss Blockbuster Video. All right, good. So yes, Karen Reed's not affiliated with this movie. So this is just Lifetime saying, you know, we're going to make a movie about Karen Reed. And then I believe the official movie, if I'm not mistaken, was the one with Elizabeth Banks. Elizabeth Banks has been in a lot of movies, like Spider-Man and a few other movies as well. So yep, Elizabeth Banks should be interesting. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this portrayal. What's going on, Bourbon Hosp? Someone goes, I never watched Lifetime. I'm gonna wait till somebody tells me their input on it. Yeah, for this, it's an exceptional. Like I gotta see this. It's, you know, it's Karen Reed based media. You know, it's about her story, and it's also about, you know, in a sense, we're going to look at the attorneys, how they're portrayed. We're going to look at Karen Reed supporters and how I imagine like throughout this movie, the Karen Reed supporters are just going to be sprinkled in with signs. They're going to have extras like free Karen Reed, extras that were there for like 12 hours that day, holding signs. They probably told all these people, just wear pink shirts. We'll give you guys free Karen Reed signs and hats. We'll have you guys all out there just holding the signs. They probably showed the extras like 2 minutes of clips. Like, here's a 5-minute YouTube video. Here are all the supporters on YouTube. Just act like these people. Act as passionately as these people. Just hold your free Karen Reed sign. Like, okay, we got it. Meanwhile, this is filming in probably California. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it's gonna be an interesting movie tonight. Like I said, I am excited because for a long time we've been wanting to see a Karen Reed movie. What's the term? Dramatization. So yeah, I'm interested in seeing this and breaking it down. And see, someone says, I am debating whether I'm going to watch it. Got to get Lifetime first, LOL, but I'm pretty sure whether it's accurate or not, it will be good. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Yeah. Then I admit I have seen the Julia Roberts movie Erin Brockovich, because again, that's a legal drama. So I do admit to saying that. Yeah. Oh, we're going to talk about Turtleboy's portrayal in the movie. The show user asks, when is this movie showing? It's 8:00 tonight if you're on the East Coast. It's on Lifetime. 8:00 tonight. So like I said, I'm going to have this movie on the TV. I'm going to be sitting there on the couch with my phone. Packers and Bears is playing tonight. And I'm going to be watching both. I'm just going to kind of monitor the Packers Bears, but I'm going to be like locked in on Karen, this portrayal of Karen here. So yeah, we'll be looking to see how this goes tonight. But I'm excited. I want to see this movie. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not expecting like The Godfather. I'm not expecting The Shawshank Redemption. I'm not expecting The Dark Knight. I'm not expecting Pulp Fiction. I'm not expecting Fight Club. I'm not expecting The Deer Hunter. I'm not expecting Saving Private Ryan quality material here. But I am expecting like Lifetime is free with Amazon Prime. So if anybody needs that information, there you go. So if you have Amazon Prime, Lifetime's free. So there you go, folks. That's good information. So like I said, I'm looking to see how this goes. But I'll say this, like when I look at, what if it's actually good? Someone's like, what if it's actually good though? Hey Jay, how you doing? What if it's actually a good movie? All right, so let's take a look at the slideshow. We'll go back and forth between this for now. And like I said, when I look at things like analytically or aesthetically, I can tell like this is a pretty solid dramatization, right? They got the winner, they got good lighting. She looks like Karen Reed. There's snow. The emotion on her face looks very similar to what we saw Karen like in the videos that were aired during both hearings. So, like I say, okay, that's good. They got that right. Now if this movie had it like daylight, no snow, her hair was wrong, I'd be like, okay, you have to get the basics right when you're making a movie reenacting what happened in real life. You got to get the basics right. That's one thing. You got to have attention to detail. You can't have an actress that doesn't look like Karen portraying her. You can't have her with a Carol Brady haircut. You can't have that. You got to keep it looking good. So you got to make sure people look at this and say, okay, it looks like Karen. Okay. That's good. So yeah, this image is spooky. Like when I first saw this trailer, it was eerie. It really was. It's like, oh my God, this is, when they first show it and she's at the scene reacting to John. This is all good. Good portrayal here as far as I'm concerned. Now, I think that this is a favorable portrayal of Karen because this movie is already really showing Karen in a light where she looks like an innocent woman. When we saw the footage in the courtroom during the trials where she's at the scene and she's reacting to John and the police arrive, she's all over the place. She doesn't look like a woman that's not shocked. She doesn't look like a woman that's in control. She doesn't look like this is what she's expecting to see. She looks like someone that's really out of sorts because they're absolutely shocked. And the reason why she's absolutely shocked is because she didn't do it. It's because she doesn't know what's going on. Because she didn't do it. Okay, so that's pretty much what's happening here. And Lifetime, to their credit, is portraying this in a manner that really shows us exactly what happened, which is the truth. Karen Reed is shocked. She's in true shock and horror, and she's absolutely, losing her mind because her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, is dying. All right. So, so someone said here, just so people have information here tonight, someone just said they checked and you need the Lifetime app, not free with Prime. All right. So we'll have people just continue to look into that. If anybody has any information for people, we'll share that. We want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to see the movie if possible. Yeah, I believe they might have shown her Scooter in the trailer, but she has like a hoodie on, so it's tough to tell. But yes, it's like I said, aesthetically, this to me portrays Karen in an honest light right here for sure. All right, let's go to the next slide. All right, so here we have an officer of the law searching the snow, not available on YouTube TV, they're saying. On DirecTV, Thunder says, channel 252 on DirecTV. So here you have an officer searching the scene for taillight. So they're going to obviously, get into a lot of the essential details that were portrayed during both trials, during both stories, and really get into this here. So here's an officer. You see him kneeling down. Now I'm curious, will they actually show this officer drop taillight? Maybe sprinkle it, maybe just kind of do this a little bit, decorate the scene like it's Christmas, with some taillight. I wonder if they'll do that, just to make sure it's an accurate portrayal, because obviously no taillight was shattered. There was no taillight shattered at the crime scene, right? None. Let's go to the next image because it's the same thing. Okay, that shows you the taillight there. So there's oh, look on the ground, a piece of taillight. Oh, look what I found. I found taillight right here. Yeah. No, that didn't happen, right? There was no taillight there. There's no taillight at the scene. That never happened. The taillight, come on. It didn't shatter at the scene. It was obviously when she was backing into John O'Keefe's vehicle on the search for him. And even if there was whatever, come on. It's all, they did this. They decorated it. They decorated the crime scene. Let's just be honest. Let's be honest here, ladies and gentlemen. But someone got a 7-day trial. Allison got a 7-day trial to finally watch it live. Lifetime movies you have to pay. The general Lifetime app is free on Prime. Okay. The add-on is free for HBO Max. I know they got to have leaf blowers there and everything. They got to have the leaf blower brigade. Zzz, 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 Oh my goodness. But yeah, it's as we know, Karen Reed's taillight was damaged when she backed into John O'Keefe's vehicle. And then we saw what happened at Sallyport. It was like Santa's workshop in Sallyport. Just let's crack a little taillight. Let's go to the crime scene. Get that out there. There we go. So yeah, like I said, and even if there had been any taillight there at the time, who's to say it wasn't because it was a cracked taillight? But obviously I think they decorated the scene. We all know that. We've been over this 1,000 times, right? So yeah, they're going to be talking about the taillight in the movie. So you're going to see that portrayed, which will be interesting to see. Let's move on to the next slide, shall we? All right, here, this is right out of what you saw in the footage that was played in court of Karen at the scene. Just absolutely horrified. And it hits hard because I think that when you see the real footage, like when they show the cam footage, for example, you're just kind of seeing it through a lens. But I think when you watch a movie reenacting it, it kind of almost brings your mind right there in a sense that you feel like you're right in on the activity that's going on. And you feel like this is something that is happening right before your eyes, and that's kind of what movies do. They kind of take us into a world of pure imagination, like they say in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Yes, the exact name of the movie is Accused, the Karen Reed story. Actually, on my provider, I had looked for Karen Reed to search for it because I don't know what channel Lifetime is. and I couldn't locate the channel or the movie last night. So I finally just typed in accused, and it came right up. So I was happy to locate it. I got it all set up to record actually too, so I can watch it back. Now it looks like it's re-airing tonight at 12 o'clock as well, so 12 in the morning. So there will be a replay. So if anybody forgets to watch it at 8, I saw it is replaying at 12 o'clock in the morning as well. Yes, so we'll see what ends up happening there. No, Body in the Snow was a documentary. That's what that was. That's what you're thinking about there. So no problem. I mean, there's a lot of different names for all these. So yeah, but yeah, this image, this is a very striking image. I mean, you can tell Katie Cassidy is doing a very good acting job here, portraying, reaction to the scene and really capturing what she obviously watched all the footage of Karen in those videos, like we all did, and she's just reenacted this to an absolute T, no question about it at all. And then you see like a Canton police officer here, obviously at the scene. I'm not sure if any Canton police officers actually consoled her at that scene, or just because I don't recall ever seeing any footage of that. But we'll see if that's they're just going to dramatize this. They're obviously going to have little things that are different, through it all. No question about it. All right, next up here, we have Karen being arrested. This is her being taken into custody. And your $50,000 question is, for the chat, is can you guys guess who the officer is that's placing her in handcuffs there? I'm going to take a drink of water. Will you guys go ahead and guess? I'm going to drink from my official Taillight Collection cup. Which officer is that? We'll look at the chat. People saying Proctor, Tully, definitely Tully. Tully, there you go. There's your answer, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, she does look very similar to Karen Reed, Patricia. I agree. Definitely does. Yes, this is my estimation as I see this as Tully. Yeah, exactly. I think that's Tully right there. Because of the height, Proctor's taller, unless they absolutely miscast him. Tracy says Tully. So here's a comment for you. Sherry says, I don't know. They are all bald. And then Preacher also comes back with the same comment. I don't know. They all look the same. Then Courtney says, this is obviously a joke. Looks like Higgins to me. Yeah, but my guess is Tully on this as well. This is them arresting her. So they're going to really dig into this story, show you exactly. I want to see that's what I want to see with this movie is I want to see a good walk through, especially like what I'm the most curious to see. And we've only seen this in video footage that's come out of Karen's arrest, her at the police station. You're all in on the joke, right? Like that she said at the station. Just seeing the lonely hours of Karen Reed and what the lonely hours of Karen Reed are is the time between when she was out that night and the time where she started to become the suspect, the person that was arrested, the person that was now realizing that, we'll get to that, Bob Brown, for sure in a little bit. That's going to be my second segment today. Second segment will be Commissioner Cox. Then we're going to go to Kelsey Fitzsimmons. Then we're going to talk NFL today. I got to make sure I try to keep this show to 2 hours the best I can, too. All right. So what was I talking about? Just the lonely hours of Karen Reed. What I'd call the lonely hours or the lonely times of Karen Reed is really that time when she first realizes she's a suspect. When she first, Miss Jess, one of the mods in. Hope you're doing well. Nice picture of that dog right there like that. Laughing at one of the comments there. So the lonely times where she was first accused, she first realizes she's the suspect, she's arrested, she's taken to jail. And when she's first meeting David Yannetti for the first time, when she's starting to voice her, trying to come up with a plan to preach her innocence, plead her innocence publicly, right? Reaches out to Turtleboy. Turtleboy starts to talk about it. I think the beginning of Turtleboy were the later days of her lonely time, meaning she's on her own. She's by herself. It's just her and her family and her attorney and friends that believe she's innocent before this thing blows up into a massive saga where it's 2 trials. It's It's content creators, it's boots on the ground, it's national standouts, it's fundraisers, it's donations, it's interviews, it's press conferences, it's national, local, worldwide media attention. Before this thing blows up, they're going to show you and do a deep dive into Karen Read, where she's finding herself locked into this situation, where there's probably times where she probably thought, despite being as innocent as she was, that these people were going to try to throw her in jail for the rest of prison for the rest of her life. And she was probably worried about that, and worried that these people were going to do everything they could. Because even despite the support, the donations, all the attorneys, look at how far they pushed this thing. They pushed this thing to 2 trials. And I still believe to my dying day that they would have forced a 3rd trial if they could have done it. Thank God it didn't go to a 3rd trial, because I don't have the capacity to have covered this thing a 3rd time, because this was just so ridiculous. How many times was this thing going to go to trial and the same stuff over and over and over again? Insanity. It should have never gone to a 2nd trial. It should have been 1 trial. She should have been innocent. Baker Raid guys, thank you so much. Honey Bakers are in the house. Thank you guys so much for dropping by. Do appreciate that. Brooke and Baker had a great show today. Caught a bit of it. He's very busy. He's doing a lot of shows, but he's getting it done. Love Baker. He's a good guy. So yes, this is absolutely a wild story here. And they're gonna go right through this piece by piece, show us what's going on, show us how Karen felt, show us exactly how she fought for herself and how this whole thing came to be. And I'll tell you, it takes tough people. It takes tough people to fight through things like this. When you look at what Karen Read's fighting through, Aiden's fighting through, Kelsey Fitzsimmons is fighting through. All these people have to make a stand. All these people have to fight. Baker Raid people, thank you guys so much. I see the Baker Raid people here. Thank you guys so much for joining the show. Scott McGinnis welcomes you as well. Thank you guys. Looks like we have some cupcakes there as well. A lot of good people showing up. Thank you guys so much. Just so people know, let's do a quick program reset for our new people joining us. Baker Raid all over the place. Thank you guys. This is going to be about 4 topics today. We're talking about the Karen Read Lifetime movie, which is tonight at 8 o'clock on Lifetime. We're going to be talking about Commissioner Cox in our 2nd segment. We're going to be talking about Kelsey Fitzsimmons in our 3rd segment. And then I'm going to talk about the NFL playoffs, which are starting in a few hours, in my 4th and final segment tonight. So thank you guys all for coming in today and looking to talk about this stuff and have a good time discussing this movie preview tonight. Tomorrow, we'll be talking about the recap. So I'm going to try to do that around 12 o'clock if I can. Look for me to update the time if it's not official. Next weekend, next Sunday, is my projected time for my next Kelsey Fitzsimmons fundraiser. So we're going to be doing a fundraiser for her. If the Patriots end up playing on Sunday, it's likely that fundraiser may get pushed up to Saturday. So that's the estimated plan for programming here today. Today, we're going to preview the Lifetime movie. I'm utilizing a PowerPoint presentation to share all the information here. We're kind of going slide by slide through this today, as you see, and kind of recapping how this movie is going to portray itself tonight. So again, 8 o'clock if you're on the East Coast tonight, 7 p.m. Central, 5 o'clock if you're on the West Coast. It will be on Lifetime. Please check your local providers. If you have direct TV, any other, I don't know if Fubu's still around, any other television provider, your local app, see if you can watch this tonight for yourself. Like I said earlier, I don't watch Lifetime. I don't really ever. The only time I ever watched Lifetime was when Unsolved Mysteries was on. But tonight, I'm actually fired up for Lifetime because I want to see how this movie is portraying itself and see how they portray the characters. But I also want to see what they talk about. But I also want, someone saying it's an episode. My understanding is that this is a movie. That's what I'm here to understand. That's what I've understood. I don't know what everybody else has heard, but audio went off. Sorry about that. Oh, I just went to another channel over my tab where audio was playing. It just jumped. Yeah, I thought it was a movie as well. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, listen. Someone's saying it's a movie. Yeah, it's someone's saying it's not a movie. And someone else is saying it's a movie. It's a movie. I'm pretty sure it's a movie. All right, we're going to Google. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going on a little field trip to Google here. Accused. The Karen Reed story. All right. We're going to figure this out right now. All right. Let's see. Is this a movie or is it a show? A movie or a show? It's a Lifetime movie. Yeah. Accused, the Karen Reed story is a Lifetime movie. The new movie, the Patriot Ledger says the new movie Accused. So this is a movie. That's what they're saying on Google. So thank you guys for coming in from Broken Baker today. Yeah, saying just a movie. So yeah, it was my understanding it was a movie. We got Krista sending a super chat. Thank you. She says, you are a scholar and a gentleman and know that you are appreciated by so many. Thank you so much for that comment. You're an incredible example of an incredible human. Sending you so much love, light, and healing prayers. Thank you so much, Krista. Prayers to you as well. And thank you so much for your kind comment, kind words. Do appreciate that. Looks like that's Canada currency as well. Well, thank you so much from Canada. I appreciate that. Thank you for your time. Prime is saying it's a 1 hour, 30-minute movie. Yeah, so that roughly, so it will be on for 2 hours on television, but with commercials. So roughly an hour and 30 minutes of actual film story, and then it's going to go to commercial time as well. So excellent, excellent, excellent. Yeah, I'm fired up. I'm excited for this portrayal tonight. And then tomorrow I'm going to analyze it, break it down a little bit, and just kind of share my thoughts on the movie. I think probably what I'm going to do tonight is I'm probably going to live tweet tonight and just kind of post a lot of my opinions. That way tomorrow, I typically what I typically sometimes do, this is my little secret. I typically when I talk about stuff on a show, I'll tend to throw it on my Twitter page. That way I have quick access to it when I'm doing my show. It's my little trick. It's like, if I want to talk about something, I need to go back to that info. I like to throw it on Twitter. That way during the show, if I forget where I put something, I go on Twitter. There it is. You know what I'm saying? So if I do my live tweets, I'll have, I'll remember certain topics that I want to talk about. So that will be good. So we'll probably do that tonight. All right. So this looks like Karen. We all believe this to be, most of us believe that this is Brian Tully here cuffing Karen Reed. And this is the first time that she's getting arrested. So we'll go to the next slide. Now, this next slide really just shows you, this is really eerie to me. Again, just another image that shows Karen in the lonely era of this whole saga, where it's her on her own. Her parents are obviously a phone call away, and it's a tough situation for her. And at this point in her life, when you fast forward, this is 2022. When you fast forward to 2025, when she's on those courthouse steps, and the whole area, the whole street is shut down. There's a sea of pink shirts everywhere. It looks like the Ghostbusters walking out of the Museum of Art at the end of Ghostbusters 2, where there's just a sea of people chanting Ghostbusters. It's kind of like that. I'm a big Ghostbusters fan, by the way. You kind of see this story go from this woman all by herself, isolated in a cover-up, to now this woman 3 years later walking out the courthouse to the greatest moment in this entire story, the payoff moment. Miss Reed, you are free to go. And everybody screaming and yelling outside that courtroom. And her walking out to that. I love you, she says. Does the quick press conference. It was a moment. It was a moment in time. It was an all-time moment. And not only that, for every single Karen Reed supporter, what a great job you've all done. What a great job we did. We all fought. We all stood out there. We held our signs. We made our donations. Some did shows. Some did boots on the ground. Some did both. People sat in the courthouse. You guys, we fought this thing out. And when you look back at Karen in the state, this is what life is all about to me. And when I now, like for me, now being someone that does my, is helping Kelsey Fitzsimmons out, this story that happened to Karen Reed has now inspired me to seek out somebody like Kelsey Fitzsimmons that needs help, needs people to support her, needs donations, needs that kind of backing, and to me, like, this kind of redefined how I see life, which is like, I can help, we can help, I can help as an individual, but we can help as a collective group. And as individuals, collectively, we can go out there and help people, fight for people, support people, back them up, put people in a situation where if we feel that they're being framed for something or unjustly treated, we can get behind them and say, no, You will not do this to Karen Reed. No. You will not do this to Aiden Carney. No. You will not do this to Kelsey Fitzsimmons. You will not do this to other people. And we will support you and we will back you up. And for me, like I said last week, I'm looking at all of this from a justice standpoint. Justice is what this is all about. That's how I look at all this. Be Better says, new sub here. Thank you so much for the new sub. Sending you love and support. Thank you for just being a good person. Beta, thank you so much. Beta, thank you so much for that. I appreciate that greatly. Thank you for the super chat, but most of all, thank you for the kind words. Thank you. No, I thank you for this as well, Arnie. Thank you so much. That's what we can do is just help people out against justice. And for me, that's what I'm looking at all of this as, is a fight for justice. There's people in this state, there's people in this country that seek out people like Karen and try to put her in a situation where they want to frame her for something she didn't do. And this situation here, this reenactment here in this movie, makes me absolutely sick to my stomach. It really does. It absolutely makes me sick to see this. And it made me sick when I first saw the footage where she was in cuffs and she said to the officers, hands behind her back, "Are you in on this joke? Are you in on this joke?" And that's how I look at this too. It's like, man, this is absolutely just tough to see. But I'm happy that the movie is portraying, like, even the way they're filming this scene here, where they're kind of doing a distance zoom. They're not doing a close-up here. They're doing a distance zoom. And that distance zoom kind of really establishes a level of loneliness. How lonely she was at this time. How vulnerable Karen Reed was at this time. And not only that, the unknown, the fight ahead, what she needed to do, from this set of circumstances, not knowing that one day if she stood and fought and continued to fight, that one day her efforts would all pay off for her. And that's what is incredible in this shot when I look at this and seeing her in this situation. All right, this next shot is really going to capture Karen Reed and John O'Keefe prior to everything going down. This obviously, to me, it looks like it's from the waterfall. And it looks like it's, he's got the hat on there that he had that night. Everything's fine between them. And that's what we saw at the waterfall that night. Sorry, C.F. McCarthy. I'm sorry, C.F. McCarthy's my mistake. Yeah, exactly. I don't watch Lifetime movies, but yeah. But no, this kind of shows you C.F. McCarthy's, not the waterfall, my mistake. These two, which I believe to be C.F. McCarthy's, unless it's the waterfall. I guess we'll find out tonight. Kind of portrays them, everything's well. All is well, at this particular time. And that was one of our essential arguments about Karen Reed when fighting for her innocence was couples fight, couples argue. There's every guy that's ever been out there has been yelled at by their girlfriend or wife. Every woman, love y'all, has yelled at their husband or boyfriend, right? We're not going to beat around the bush, right? We know how relationships go. Eventually, she's going to throw a shoe or an iron at you and you're like, oh, like the movie Short Time, where the police answer the house and they go to the old couple's house and they say, "Ma'am, what have you done?" And she's like, "I hit him with an iron." He goes, "Why did you hit him with an iron?" "Because he said he was leaving." And then then the husband says, "I didn't say I was leaving. I said I was eating." It was just old people stuff. But that was a funny scene in that movie. She threw an iron at him because she thought he was leaving. And she thought it was leaving her, but it was just whatever. But that's, couples fight. They argue. It happens. It's going to be, people are going to have their bad moments. Eventually, sometimes people are going to pick up their phone or they're going to get in a verbal berate you, And if that wasn't true, there'd be no such thing as couples therapy, right? There'd be no such thing as couples therapy out there if that wasn't true. But that happens. It's life. Couples fight. They disagree. They argue. But they also have their fantastic moments as well. And that movie obviously wants to convey, because I think this image is very favorable to Karen when they're portraying her in this movie, that it actually shows them in a moment of time where all was well. If this movie was meant to really bury her or try to portray this movie as Karen Reed did it, they wouldn't put this kind of scene in the movie. They'd probably only show the moments where they disagreed on something and when she was mean to him on the messages she left, not knowing what actually had happened to him. So I think that this image is very favorable. But yeah, someone said, Maz is not aware of the quality of Lifetime movies. Very honestly, I admit to you, I ain't never watched a Lifetime movie in my life that I'm aware of, and if I did, it was probably like an OJ movie or something if they ever made one. But yeah, I don't know what I'm in for. But like I said, regardless of the quality, I'm interested in seeing the how this movie's portrayed and how it goes down. I'll be live tweeting tonight to see what's going on. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, this is a great image here. This is the courthouse steps. Obviously not the courtroom or courthouse in Dedham. Obviously somewhere else. Could be a set piece for all we know. Could be a studio set, but this portrays, I'm gonna go right to it here. Eliza Little does not appear to be in this movie. They are not portraying Eliza Little in this movie. And from what I've seen, I'm only seeing Alan Jackson and David Yannetti as characters representing her in this movie. I am not seeing Eliza Little. I am not seeing Bob Alessi at all. Which kind of, I understand there's budget. And someone goes, Mazza's first Lifetime movie. I'm here for it. I'm looking forward to Mazza's first. Mazza watches his first ever Lifetime movie tonight at 8:00. But yeah, no Eliza Little in any of this trailer whatsoever. No Bob Alessi whatsoever. I'm not trying. Well, I'll say this. I'm not trying to defend the producers of this movie, but I will say this. Sometimes it is not done egregiously. Sometimes it could be budget. It could be done because they only have so many actors they can portray in the movie, and they just typically. But come on, you can't pay some like up and comer actor that would do the whole movie for like $1,000. At the very least, like is $1,000 or $2,000? Come on. It's like, come on, folks, get everybody portrayed, find an actress, find an actor for Bob Alessi, throw some boxing gloves on the guy and get him in there, get it in the budget. But Eliza Little, I'm not going to speak for Eliza Little, but Eliza Little they're probably just rolling their eyes at this movie. Like, they got better things to worry about, but at the same time, they're probably like a little curious, I'm guessing. I don't know. But yeah, no Eliza Little anywhere to be found. Hi, Chrissy. Hope you're doing good today. No Eliza Little, which to me is a travesty. Because, let's be honest. In the first trial, the essential lawyers that Katie Cassidy plays Karen, the essential lawyers are the big three. Alan Jackson and Eliza Little, they're a package deal. Alan Jackson and Eliza Little are a package deal. It's David Yannetti, right? The original lawyer from Massachusetts. Then it's Alan Jackson and Eliza Little. They're a duo. They're a 1-2 punch. It's Alan Jackson and his team. So yes, if you're upset at Lifetime or this whoever produced this movie or directed it, I should say, or cast it or wrote it, if you're upset that Eliza Little isn't in this movie, I want you to write a capital EL in the chat right now for Eliza Little. Capital EL in the chat right now in support of Eliza Little. EL. L. Let's see him come through here. EL. Let's see it. If you're upset that Eliza Little's not in this movie and should be, EL's in the chat. Throw them up. Oh, there we go. Here it comes. I was like, for a moment there, I'm like, are they going to do it? I'm like, does anybody care? There we go. Here comes the ELs. Eliza Little. There we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. We got the Eliza Littles flashing in the chat here. Good. A lot of people are outraged at this. Now, hopefully we don't turn around later tonight and she's actually in the movie and we wasted our time. Like, actually, you guys, she is. She just wasn't in those scenes. No. Someone put BA. I don't know. I clicked that by accident. And someone goes, who said she isn't? That's what I'm saying, too, now that I think about this through a little bit more. But I'd say this. She was obviously always there, though. That's my argument, though. My argument would be, for most of this, well, actually, no, I got some other shots from later in the movie I can show you that I don't think she's actually in. So that might help us discover this. So we're going to investigate this. We're going to do a deep dive on these photos here and figure some things out. Now, let's talk about Alan Jackson. They have him kind of, someone goes, someone to be mad anyways. Maybe she's not in the trailer, but it's in the movie. If not, I'm automatically giving this movie a 0 because Elle was a big part of her defense. That's true. We got to give Eliza Little her flowers here. in the movie. All right, so we'll see tonight if she's in it or not. But based on these photos, it doesn't appear. Now, I kind of laughed the first time I saw this trailer. Sarah goes, AJ's way smoother than that. And I agree. He's got way more. His hair is slicked back a little bit more sharply. He's a little bit more fit. His face is more prominent in terms of like being present. You know, but I looked at this at first and I'm like, I like Katie Cassidy's casting a lot. Caitlin supporting Eliza Little, Chrissy as well. I look at this and I'm like, okay, it's an okay effort. You know, these guys look a little bit more Saturday Night Live-ish to me. Katie Cassidy, I like when I see Katie Cassidy in this photo or this screenshot here, I think that she looks, you know, absolutely, you know, on point. I do. I'd say like this is like a 90% accurate portrayal of Karen from a physical standpoint, you know. Our Mazza will be live fact checking on Twitter. We got a super chat here. Tortoise Interference says Mazza is just all right with me. Mazza is just all right. Oh yeah. Mazza is just all right with me. Mazza is just all right. Oh yeah. All right, there you go. I gave you a little song too. There we go. A little bit of singing today. Got to sing every now and then. All right, good. It took me a minute to catch that was song lyrics, but I picked up on it. I got there. It took me some time. Thank you for the super chat, Taurus. I appreciate it. Yeah, Yannetti's a little shorter here. So like the height, you know, a little bit shorter. You know, he's not as flex. He's not as buff. You know, Alan Jackson's a little bit more buffer than that. You know, they look like almost like a Saturday Night Live portrayal here of David Yannetti and Alan Jackson. But I would say for a Lifetime movie, good enough. Yeah, I'd say like good enough, but I would not say absolutely what we're looking for. So I'll give them like I'll say these actors, at least from a physical portrayal, are about, let's go 1 to 10, and 1 to 10, and then we'll get the chat decide. Let's let the chat decide. On a scale of 1 to 10, this is Yannetti and Jackson combined. From a physical standpoint, how they appear on camera here, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst, scale to 1 to 10. How do you like the physical portrayal of these actors as Alan Jackson and David Yannetti in terms of how they appear, how they look, all that? 1 to 10. Let's see what you got. Low numbers coming in. 3s and 4s. I guess 3s and 4s are standard for Lifetime movies, though, right? Someone said 0, even though it's 1 to 4, 1 to 10. We have an 8 coming in. Kat says an 8, so she's happy. Mostly 3s, 2s. No 6, 7 jokes, please. Most of us are not that young. 0s, 4s, 8s. I see a bunch of 6s, 4s, a lot of 3s and 2s. 1s, 5. Someone said -1. Dodo said -1. 3 to 2. 3. Someone said 3 2. We have a 3. We have our first 3 to 2 joke. 3 to 2. 5. I'm going to say about a 5. I'm going to go right in the middle. Haley says -10. 3s, 1s. This is not rating the actors acting. It's just, as we know, their physical, how they look in terms of in comparison. So we're going to say low. It looks like, I'm going to say about 3. Looks like a 3 or 4. Probably, I'd say based on what I'm seeing here, probably averages out to about a 4 based on some of the higher votes, but a couple of 5s came. This was like a 3.5. It's like they didn't even try. They just walked in some actors and said, hey, can you play David Yannetti and can you play Alan Jackson, please? Yeah, sure. Not a problem at all. Type in accused. Accused, the Karen Reed story. That should bring it up. I stand with 4. All right. So we'll say, I'm going to say 4 over. I'm going to say a 5 for myself. We'll just say the overall polling came out at like 3.5 to 4. Someone said Aiden is definitely a -10. We're going to talk about that soon, too. All right. But the courthouse, obviously a different courthouse. You know, yeah. We'll see how this goes. All right, next photo. All right, this next photo, this is Karen Reed in her home. This is Janet Reed and Bill Reed in this particular scene here. Now, I'm guessing the left side must be Nathan Reed. I'm guessing. So I'm guessing this is left to right, Nathan, Janet, and Bill. And Janet Reed, yeah, I'm a negative on the Janet casting. Janet Reed is a very stunning woman. And this actress just to me seems like she's like meh, you know? And it's like, come on, that's not our Janet. Like that's not the Janet we all know and love that smiled at us and gave us hugs. You know, Janet, far more prettier here, not to insult this lady. But you know, I just don't think like she's you know, to me, I just don't see the flair. I'm not seeing someone said Peggy. Wait. People thinking this might be Peggy? Someone says, I think, well, if these are the O'Keefes, then where is this the brother? Now we're starting to get, there's a debate here. Let's see what the comments are saying. People are saying this, actually, you know, you guys may be right. People are starting to say Peggy here. Maybe it is. You know what? Because of the height, you know what might have thrown me off? I guess we're going to have to wait and see on this. I guess we're going to have to wait and see on this. We're all thinking, a lot of people were saying Janet at first, and all of a sudden the comment section just literally turned in real time and went to Peg. Yeah, you know what it is? You know what yeah, that's what I'm thinking too, Sarah. Because I'm sitting here and I'm seeing this, the taller husband here, and I immediately thought this was Bill Reed. That's what I thought. That's why I thought this was Janet. Now everyone's saying Peggy. Now even I'm convinced this is Peggy now. Even I'm convinced this is Peggy. But yeah, her facial mannerism, now that I look at this, would be exactly, you know, how Peggy reacts. You know, she's very, you know, she had that kind of physical portrayal. So yeah, the facial expression. Yeah, the whole comment section has won me over now. I'm absolutely now no longer convinced this is Janet. Yeah. What throws me though is the guy on the left, you know, could be like Nathan, in the height of the father here looks like, to me, like Bill Reed. That's what threw me off completely. Okay, so this is now the O'Keefe family being portrayed. That would make sense. But you know what threw me off too is during this part of the trailer, they show Karen Reed. Karen Reed is talking during this point in the trailer. I'm wondering if maybe this is the moment where Karen was in the house and then left. Maybe that's what this is. Yeah, the two kids are in the back. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Yep. That's what, okay. This all makes perfect sense to me now. Okay. That, I hadn't dissected this much, but during the trailer, it was Karen narrating during the trailer. And I'm like, oh, she's talking to her mom, and that's her dad. And I hadn't really dissected this. So someone goes, I said this like 10 minutes ago. Which is like, I said it 10 minutes ago. You didn't listen. You didn't see my comment. Okay. All right. Now we got some correction here. So this is the O'Keefe family here. Okay. Gotcha. All right. Makes sense now. I'm gonna put the tail between my legs and move on to the next slide. All right. Next slide here takes us to C.F. McCarthy's. All right. In the dining room, and shows us now. This is another debate because this could also be the waterfall. So these are other things that were, because I don't want to make sure. Now I'm kind of sitting there, I'm checking myself a little bit now. I'm like, don't say it's C.F. McCarthy's, but it could be the waterfall. This could be the waterfall as well. But, we'll see what ends up portraying in the movie. But yeah, the bar looks realistic. And you know what's crazy is, they show it with, like, to me, yeah. So some say I don't think it's the waterfall. C.F. McCarthy's, yeah, because of the angle. Obviously it's C.F. McCarthy's, right? But obviously this bar they're using, is not like the type of bar that they have at CF McCarthy's. So I think going forward on this program, we're just gonna do a chat-based debate. We're gonna let collaboratively. We're gonna decide on every scene. Yeah, but yeah, the bar is definitely different than CF McCarthy's, which is what would make the argument for Waterfall. But yeah, based on this being that it's dining room footage, it's security cam footage, it's dated. So, Big Girl, what's going on, man? I really don't love that I'm actually going to be watching a Lifetime movie later, but being in this community, you just can't skip it, right? That's hey, look, there's questions raised to me too, like, Matt, you've never watched a Lifetime movie. I'm like, no, the only time I ever watched Lifetime was to watch Unsolved Mysteries. So unless I'm unaware that I might have watched a Lifetime movie at one point in my life that was based upon something that I was interested in, like a true crime story, obviously, then yeah, I've never watched Lifetime on that. But yeah, well, look, I'm gonna say CF McCarthy's here as well, just because it's security cam footage and the angle of the security cam footage. When we see the security cam footage in court during the trials, it's always from that angle for the better part. When we see the security footage from the waterfall, it's always from like the back of the room looking forward. But the bar here, the bar doesn't, to me, really look as much like CF McCarthy's. But, for this movie, they're just going to use a bar room. They're not going to, Lifetime movie is not going to go above and beyond to redesign an entire bar to look exactly like CF McCarthy's. One more. Someone asked, do we have to subscribe to Lifetime to be able to watch chat? I would first check with your providers. Just if you have DirecTV or something, check with them first, see if you have it available. Check your apps, see if there might be a Lifetime app you might be able to watch it on, see if you already have it for free, based on some of the subscription you might have. Yeah, I don't see his friends there. So yeah, that makes me think it's CF McCarthy's after debating it as well. Because the at Waterfall, there were a lot more of the notable people there. Notable people meaning the people that we know about, that we've seen in the breakdown footage. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening with that. So, all right, we're moving on to the next slide. All right, I like this image a lot. I love this image a lot because, yeah, thank God the Patriots are on tomorrow night, because it'd be tough to watch the Patriots. If the Patriots were on tonight, I would not be able to watch this till after the Patriots game. Absolutely. Yeah, see if your streaming services have Lifetime included. Hopefully you might be able to watch it through that. Check to see if your Lifetime app might flow through one of those apps. So, all right. So this image I like a lot for a lot of different reasons. I think they're going to depict Karen Read the way we are. I think that when I look at all these images, I think they're very favorable to Karen. And I think that they're portraying her, from what I've seen so far, as a victim. I don't know if they're going to get too deep into the cover-up, but I can definitely tell you it looks to me like they're going to portray her as someone who is fighting for her freedom, fighting for John O'Keefe is what I see end up happening. Yeah. Now, yeah. So this is a good comment here. She has a great disgust face. Sometimes when I'm getting ready to say something and I see someone in the comments say it, I like to read the comment because it's, just I like to be interactive with my chat. Yeah, well, the Patriots got to come first because it's a playoff game. It's a playoff game. It's a live game. This is a taped movie. So I can always watch the taped movie after the live game is over. So, yeah, that's why. I'm going to watch my Patriots live. Got to watch my Patriots live. Now, if the Patriots were taped and this movie was live, well, then I'd watch what's live. So you got to always watch what's live first. Good comment here. Is that Alessi in the background? Great question. Or is that someone, that's a member of the team in the background that's operating the laptop? So that should be interesting to see if that's Alessi. So we're going to say there is a chance that this could be Robert Alessi. There is a chance that this could be a member of the team as well. So we'll see. We'll see. But hopefully it is Alessi. Hopefully it is. And we can watch Robert Alessi do his thing. What, if anything? I was kidding. He doesn't say what, if anything. Every time I say what, I'm like, what, if anything? All right, but I like Karen here. I like Katie Cassidy here in her portrayal. Now, notice how she's portrayed. The hair, just like Karen Read. her face, I mean, when you're picking an actress to play somebody, she looks as much as Karen Reed as I think you could possibly find. Now, the way she's dressed, perfect. And then also notice the necklace. She has the necklace there. That's what could be so egregious? What could be more egregious? And what? All right. Yeah, that's going to be, that's going to be one of the things that I'm looking for tonight as well, is are they going to portray both trials as thoroughly as one another, or are they going to kind of do like a smaller portion? Because I think that the first trial, in a certain sense, kind of is overwritten by the second trial in a lot of senses. So I'm wondering if they're going to spend most of their time on the second. I would say this: if they're going to spend more time on the second trial than they would on the first trial. In other words, they'll cover the first trial, but maybe not as in depth as they're going to cover the second trial. That's my prediction. And let's be honest, this is a lot of content to cram into. Glamma Sue's in the house. What's going on? This is a lot of content to slam into an hour and a half worth of TV time. This is a lot of content. I mean, let's be honest. I think a 10-part miniseries would be the best way to portray this. Like, FX, like when FX does their, true crime or whatever movies. I think that that's the better way to portray it. I really do. I really do. But yeah, we'll see, Suze, what they do. We'll see what they end up doing for movie time and how they divvy that up. It's going to be interesting. I think there'll always be criticism, but I'd say for the better part, let's do a poll, 1 to 10, from a physical standpoint in terms of how much Katie Cassidy does or does not look like Karen Reed. 1 to 10, 10 being the best. How would you rate Katie Cassidy as Karen Reed? I'd say a 9. I'm going to go with a 9. So 1 to 10. How well do you think she looks like Karen Reed? I'm going to say a 9. I think that she's very well portrayed. A lot of high marks so far. 7s, 8s are good numbers too. 7s and 8s are good. 10, Sarah says 10. Sue says 8. LM Honey Money says 9. B Crumb says 7. Another 9. Another 8. 10. 7s. Tracy says a 1. Tracy said a 1. 5, 7s, 8. A lot of 8s here coming in. These are good. These are good marks here. Anything above a 7's good. 6 is when you like 4 to 6 is kind of like the middle range, but 7's kind of like good enough. 7's kind of like a serviceable rating. 8's like solid. 9's like perfect, but that's where I rate it. We're going to talk about that in a moment too when we get to that image for you. I think it's coming up soon. We got a 10 here. A lot of 8s. 7.5. I think that we can agree to an 8. Why don't we agree to an 8? Let's all agree to an 8 based on what I'm seeing here. 7s, 8s, 9s. Yeah, 7 to 8. Scott McGinnis says an 8. I'm going to say a 9 for myself, but I think as a group, there's a 4, there's a 6 here, a 9. The blue eyes was a takeaway for Sarah. A 6. Someone goes, but with a bitchy face of 15. A 10, couple 7s. I think a 6. I think we can agree on an 8 as a group. I think we can collaboratively say about it. Yeah, I'll allow an 8. Yeah, I'd say about an 8. The blue eyes, yeah. I'd say for an actress that's doesn't have the same genetics, it's tough to ever look exactly like somebody, but I would say, I'd say an 8. I would say an 8 as a group, I think would probably be, if we did all the math on what we just threw in the chat, I think an 8 would probably be where we come out. So that's good. But I like, they got the necklace, they got the coat, they got the hair. I think it's a very solid portrayal of Karen Reed. So I think that's pretty solid. So, all right, we'll go to, and the courtroom looks pretty solid. We're going to talk about the courtroom in the next image, but I like the focus here from the Katie Cassidy playing Karen. Like that's just like how Karen was in the courtroom, locked in. Oh, we'll be getting to Turtleboy. Locked in, focused, very intent, very determined. I see a portrayal here where she knows the truth and she's going to fight to get to the truth. So we'll see. We're going to Bev is in the movie. We'll show you. And okay, we're going to Hank Brennan now. So this is Unless it's Lally. I don't know if this is Lally, but when I listened to the trailer, he sounded, I felt like I was getting more of a Hank Brennan vibe. I don't know. I'm feeling Hank Brennan on this for casting here. I think this is Hank Brennan. That's just, let's go to the chat. Write Lally or Brennan. Just write Lally or Hank. Lally or Hank. Let's see what people say here. I'm seeing Hank. Hank. He's too well dressed for Lally. That's my argument too. What if anyone are? Who, if anyone, are you? Hank. We got one Lally comment coming in. Hank 100%. Hank. Mr. Hanky. Hank. A lot of Hanks. Okay, so we're looking at Hank. Yeah, that's what I think too. When I listen to him talk in the trailer, that's what I felt too. I think that's Hank. Someone goes, Hallie. It's both. Yeah, the majority here is saying Hank. That's what I think too. I just get Hank vibes. Unless, of course, this guy, but if they do have Lally in this movie, he better start saying like where, if anyone, who, if anything, why, if any, why. I don't know. They better have something like that. But I'm thinking Hank all the way here. Definitely Hank. If they have Lally, they better have him ripping butts in the parking lot behind the Registry of Deeds. You never know. Sometimes they use composite characters. So a composite character is when you take different characters and you roll them into one. But I think they're going to go with the actual names in this. But a composite character would be like Mark Wahlberg in the movie Patriots Day. In Patriots Day, Mark Wahlberg didn't actually play an actual officer. He just played like a combination of different characters who were at different scenes. And, they kind of blended them into one character. So, yeah, we'll see. So yes, I believe we believe that this is Hank for sure. That's why I think that's our final answer. We'll be shocked if that's not. Next picture. All right. Now I believe this is the same actor that played. We believe this is Tully right here. We believe this is Tully. But could it be Proctor? I just think it's Tully. Let's vote Tully or Proctor. I'm thinking Tully. Trooper Paul. He does look a bit like Trooper Paul, though, doesn't he? Tully here's the majority. Some people say this is an argument. Too thin for Proctor. Yeah, actually, this is a good comment here. That looks just like Mr. O'Keefe. I'm thinking he has a phone. Proctor. Trooper Paul. Someone says Paul O'Keefe. Proctor. This is very debatable here. Someone goes, Tully, look at that mug. Someone goes, maybe Gallagher. Tully. Someone says a composite character where they're a combination of multiple characters. Proc. I mean, this is heavily debated here. This is heavily debated here in the chat. Could be Gallagher or Paul. Paul, generic MSP cop, Proctor. Someone goes, this is so much fun. I think they combined the police. Tully. Wow. I mean, yeah. He's wearing a shirt and tie. He has a phone. I believe that to be a police vehicle behind him. Scott says he does look like Trooper Paul a bit, but I doubt he would be portrayed in the movie. Goodness gracious. 1 second. One moment. Well, we guys are debating that in the chat. I'm going to check one thing. Where is that? 1 second. There's no telling. like when I first saw that image, I thought it was a police officer, but this is debatable now. This is really debatable now because you can't tell if that's a police car or not in the background, or if it's an undercover car or not, or if it's just a civilian car. Yeah, that's tough to say. When we go back to this image here, right there, that we thought earlier that might have been Tully. Some thought it might have been Proctor. Someone says Proctor has a coat like that. Someone goes, shaved-headed, bald-headed actors were ecstatic for this movie. Yeah, it's tough to say. And I can't even tell you if this is the same exact actor. Interesting. Interesting. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know. I can't even tell you. Who's playing the leaf blower? Ask Lowe's ask the Lowe's store to see if they added a free leaf blower to the movie. Someone goes, doesn't have a tie on, so it wouldn't be that. Glamis checked the cast but can't tell. Someone goes, it's just bald actor number 2. The other Mary B said. Yeah, I don't know. I'm stumped. I am stumped right here. Someone goes, oh my goodness. Yeah, I don't even know. My guess is gonna be, I'm gonna go with Tully. I'm gonna go with Tully for now. We'll figure this out. We'll find out tonight. You'll find out tonight at 8 o'clock if you live on the East Coast, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. There's no way to tell from that clip. Yeah, someone says the cheeks are too thin, but it's a Lifetime movie, so yeah. Gallagher, the leaf blower. I don't know. I do not know who this is portraying at all. All right. Well, this is a mystery. We have to table this one for later tonight to see who this is. Because ladies and gentlemen, we simply do not know. There's way too many characters that have the same haircut to tell. All right, here we go. Next slide. All right, now, this slide here is the image I wanted to talk to you guys about earlier. So earlier in our discussion, we talked about this clip right here, which shows Eliza Little not present. All right, and then some suggested or said maybe she could possibly be in the movie at some other point, which is still on the table. She could. However, Eliza Little is not in this clip, and she's not in this clip either. Once again, it's just I'm just laughing at this Yannetti comment here. Y'all saw who's playing Yannetti, right? Yes, we did. The chat gave very low ratings to the actors portraying Jackson and Yannetti. So this does not show Eliza Little in this clip at all. This is the war room. This is Karen Reed and her defense team, and Alan Jackson on the right, and then just before Karen, David Yannetti, and we have no portrayal or no presence. That's what I'm thinking too, Glam, as they cut back on characters. We have no Liza Little in this. As far as these two clips are telling me, there's no Liza Little at all in this movie as of right now. And that's interesting. Yeah, so it's going to be a budget thing. They cut back on characters. I'm thinking maybe they wanted, Yannetti's kind of like, the argument for Yannetti is he's the first attorney. The argument for Alan Jackson was he was like the high profile lead attorney, and then they obviously cut back, but it's too bad. I'm sure, it's one of those things that's too tough because Eliza Little obviously had a great presence, and Eliza Little, like we know, was obviously someone that was doing so much stuff behind. Like, there's no telling what Eliza Little did that we just never saw conveyed in court, because it might have been a lot of times Alan Jackson, doing cross-examinations or presenting information that was provided by Eliza Little. Kind of like in A Few Good Men. Like, you don't really see Demi Moore have a lot of vocal moments when she's, because it's Tom Cruise's character, right? But it's Demi Moore and Kevin Pollak that are doing all the work behind the scenes that's being provided to Tom Cruise to be able to do what he does in court. And Eliza Little was always kind of like that type of lawyer where she was the one that was, she wrote all the motions. She did a lot of that detailed work that, isn't getting the camera time, because she's behind the scenes. She's doing the work, that's going to be, she's doing all the grinding. Not saying Alan Jackson and Eddie weren't, but, she's doing that, the work that is not always seen in public, but it's a lot of times. Yeah, she did cross in the first trial, but not the second. I wonder if that factored into why the production company here that made this movie decided to cut her. I don't know. But yeah, she was a workhorse for sure. It is a great comment here. If she wasn't, Alan Jackson wouldn't have brought her. Yeah, exactly. I mean, she's Alan Jackson's ace. She is she's that one person that just has that ability to just quantify information, produce information, get it done. But unfortunately, when it comes to Hollywood movies, are they ignoring someone like her unfairly, or is it a budgetary thing? So that kind of frustrates me quite a bit. Someone says, pretty sure the movie's only covering the first trial. My estimation is that I believe it's probably going to cover the whole story, but we'll see. We'll see if they end up making a second movie. We'll find out for sure tonight. What ends up, no chalks, please. No chalks. No chalk, please. Yeah, Liza and Karen were girls. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Does anyone know where I can watch from Canada? I can't find it anywhere, and I even have the Lifetime Network. Yeah, if you have the Lifetime Network, it should be on at 8:00. If anybody else is from Canada that could assist Scorpio, that'd be fantastic. I want to give everybody their best opportunity. Their best opportunity to watch the movie. Yeah, we remember Judge Beverly Cannoni during the pre-trials before the first hearing, for the first pre-trial before the first trial. No chalks. No chalks, please. There's no need for chalks. Someone said she'll be able to stream it on the app tomorrow. So it looks like if you can't watch it tonight, someone says again here, if you have the app, it will be available tomorrow on the Lifetime app, I'd imagine. Someone says it's not on Lifetime. I already went through the guide. Yeah, no chalks. No chalks. All right, so yeah, but I like this image. They're going to show a lot of behind the scenes, a lot of the work. Looks like there's going to be a heavy portrayal. It's the Karen Reed story. They're calling it the Karen Reed story, right? So that tells you a lot about this movie right there, that it's called Accused, the Karen Reed story. So obviously they're portraying that in a sense that this is Karen Reed's story, because it says Karen Reed's story right in the title, right? So we can rest assured that this is going to be a story of Karen Reed, who's a woman fighting against the portrayal that she's accused, and she's got to fight her way out of that. So I think that's favorable. To me, it tells me that Lifetime believes her story, believes in her, and wants to tell a story about a woman, that's going to fight her way out of this. And I'm hoping to see a strong portrayal of Karen as a person that's relentless, that will not quit. And they're saying that it looks like Hulu will show it Sunday. So see if you guys have Hulu. If not, first confirm Hulu has, double check it first. Of course, looks like Hulu's going to have it, but double check it. Then you guys going to sign up for Hulu for 1 month. Do it. Absolutely do it. But yeah, they're going to portray them behind the scenes here. All right, next slide. There's your close-up of David Yannetti right there. Ladies and gentlemen, attorney David Yannetti's portrayal in this movie. I'd love to hear the reactions of, like David Yannetti tonight, if he's going to tweet about it. I'd love, if he's watching it, I'd love to hear his reaction to all of this. I'd love to hear, how they feel about these actors, how they feel about how those actors portrayed them. And obviously, the Hollywood version with Elizabeth Banks is going to have the more notable actors, right? I'm sure when it comes to Hollywood time, we're going to know a lot of these actors. But this movie, it's going to be like, don't know who these guys are. Katie Cassidy, I've heard about a little bit. But, with this, it's going to be, never heard of them before. So, some of these actors in this movie, 5 to 10 years from now, might actually be big-time actors, or maybe gone, okay, from the Hollywood scale. They might be unknowns who stay unknown. We'll see. But yeah, someone said essentially that this guy's not the lady killer that David Yannetti is with the ladies around here. Ladies were Ladies were going crazy for David Unetti. Ladies were going crazy for Alan Jackson. Yep, they were. But yeah, like I said, lifetime effort, lifetime quality, good enough, I guess. Not an optimal casting. But, obviously we want to see better. We always do. We want to see Eliza Little in the movie. Come on. It's never too late. They got some more, a few more hours before they can edit her into the movie. So, all right, moving along. All right, now I like this a lot. Now, they're actually reenacting in this movie, which I'm happy to see Lifetime do. They're actually going to reenact security camera footage from John O'Keefe's house when Karen backed into the vehicle. They've actually, they got the fence back there. They've got 2 vehicles, so they put the, obviously they use the budget on these vehicles, to have them in there, unless they destroyed some rental cars. Let's hope they didn't do that. But yeah, this is good to see this kind of imagery in here. I'm glad to see that they're going to talk about this in the movie. I thought that, to me, this was one of the defining, so the garage cam, essentially. This was one of the defining moments in my argument about the taillight that I believe that they noticed in Sallyport or at the scene, that the taillight had been cracked. And then that's where to me, I always thought that they needed a manner of trying to, 2 things. They had to justify the fact from a cover-up standpoint, from a framing standpoint. I'm trying to think from how they did this. And my thoughts have always been, and me and Olivia talked about this, I remember one time, in the middle of a show. She was in the comments, and we were literally having a conversation about this. One show I did a year and a half ago. And I said, people would say, why did they need to have taillight at the scene? And I said, the only thing I can think of is that because of the dog bites. Because you just can't say someone was hit by a vehicle and not have an explanation for the wounds on his arm. So you'd have to come up with some kind of level of way to justify your accusation that Karen Reed did this and it was a vehicular attack. But how did the wounds get there? And it's my belief, and I saw Olivia say this too, was that they must have noticed at some point the crack in the taillight. And they said, hey, look at this taillight. It's cracked. His arms are wounded. What if we just shattered this taillight, put it at the crime scene, then just said she put the car in reverse, and then we'll just say there's taillight found at the crime scene. We'll even have Bert go back and, a week or 2 later and just discover more taillight. We'll make this whole thing about driving in reverse, shattered taillight, and then that will be the argument. And then you end up seeing Karen Reed arrested later on, don't you? And I think that probably, it's always been my theory that it came about somewhere like that. They tampered this crime scene. They took the vehicle to Sallyport, hammered it up, took the taillight, sprinkled the crime scene, and they obviously didn't want this footage because this there's only one piece of evidence from that entire night that taillight was ever in any way, shape, or form impacted. We'll get back to that in a moment. Lola, the good dog, 26, sends a super chat. Thank you. I like the picture of your dog as well. He or she is very cute. I'm sorry, you said Lola. She. It would be fun to have a side-by-side comparison of real life versus movie like they did with Bohemian Rhapsody. Maybe I can do that at some point. I'm sure there'll be some people online as well on Twitter or something that will probably do some side-by-side images, which would be pretty good to go through. Here's the real life version. Here's the movie comparison. All right. Okay. All right. No, thank you. Yes, thank you so much for that super chat. Thank you very much. All right, here we go. So, like I said, the only visual evidence, the only camera-based evidence from that entire story that taillight ever hit anything is this footage right here. This is the reenacted footage that the studio created for the movie. But this is the only time you see that exact taillight bump into something. And it's always been my theory that when they went wild with their whole taillight theory and they went to Sallyport and they went to work on that taillight, that they didn't know that this footage had existed. They didn't know it. Maybe they thought that crack in her taillight was from another time. Maybe they did, but that's always been my theory, that they didn't know that this footage existed. And thank God for Karen that it did. Because playing this in a courtroom is a big deal when it's a big discussion about taillight. And they're saying you backed the vehicle into somebody. And then it turns out, guess what? Here's some footage from that night that she backs into that vehicle. And guess what? That's what probably caused that. That's what I'm thinking. They broke it on purpose and then they transported it over. And then they went over there and they doctored it up. You know? It's, for the life of me, I can't remember if there might have been any sprinkling of taillight. Like, I'm not talking big pieces, but just because I don't think there was ever even any taillight even found here, for goodness sakes. I don't even know. I can't even recall now. You know what's difficult about all this stuff is that when you follow this stuff day in and day out, then 6 months go by or 7 months go by and you don't follow it every day like it is in depth as I did during that time frame. You kind of start to lose like a little bit. It's like when I know most of the Patriots roster, then the offseason happens and you kind of forget like the mundane players on the team a little bit. You know, it kind of happens with this. It's like I kind of forget like those smaller details that I knew 6 months ago or a year ago. Kind of as time goes on, you just it's tough to kind of keep this stuff so fresh in your head. Not talking about the major details, the smaller details. But yeah, I'm glad they're putting this in the movie. This is great stuff, especially because, you know, what's going to happen tonight? What's going to happen tonight is you're going to have more people following the Karen Read case than before, because there's going to be people, there are people out there that watch Lifetime, right? That watch true crime stories that, that sit down, watch these kind of movies and they learn about it. You know, so this is going to be tonight's movie, whether we like it or not, or whether it's great or bad, or whether it's a great portrayal or not, it is going to introduce a new audience into supporting Karen Read. You know, then you probably have like, that a couple there. It's like, that lady clearly did it. She did it. I don't believe this movie. We're trying to portray her as innocent, but I was on Twitter and I saw that there are people out there saying that Karen Read did it. And I think she did it. I think she did it. No, but you might have people like that, for example, but that's okay. But there's going to be a new audience tonight. You know, people that have never heard of this story before that are Lifetime viewers. And they tune in tonight and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened to this woman. So we'll see what happens. But I just think this is I'm glad they reenacted this for the movie. This is important for viewers to know. This is definitely one of the quintessential moments in the trial for me. So I definitely want to see. I'm glad they're doing it. I want to see it in the movie. It's great because this tells a big part of the story, because it's going to raise suspicion. It's going to raise questions. That's it. You know, it's played in the defense's hands in real life. Next. Okay, here we go. Now it's Turtleboy time. Here we go. This kid looks like, what's that actor that played Lex Luthor in the new Superman movie there? He was the kid that was in X-Men First Class, the kid that used to date Jennifer Lawrence in real life. That kid. This is the guy they got playing Turtleboy. He looks like Norm Macdonald from Saturday Night Live, who hasn't eaten in a week, is who he looks like here. Now, this guy, first of all, they make it look like Turtleboy is like in a broom closet. If you look to the left back there, it looks like they're portraying him as someone that's in a broom closet. Yeah. And, like this, is there a mop in the back? It's like, how are they trying to portray him here? They got him, whatever. Now they got the sheet, like I think he uses a blue or green sheet. for his green screen. So they got that accurate. But then the actor, like they got the Turtleboy hat on. You know, he wears the headset. So I guess the only things they might have got right here is that they got the background curtain there. He usually wears a hat, and then he gets the headset on, and then he'll wear a t-shirt. But this guy doesn't look like Turtleboy at all. Like he just looks like they found an actor and they're like, hey, can you just pretend to be, someone on YouTube that, is going to support Karen Reed and that's it. And it's like, yeah, I can do that role. And he just gets on camera and it's like, whatever. But look how, not body shaming, but this guy is considerably thinner compared to Aiden. Aiden has more of a muscular frame. This guy has more of like he looks like me when I was about 16 years old when I played basketball. I was thin, like really thin. These comments here. His neck is much thinner. 1 to 10 in the chat. 1 to 10 in the chat. I see zeros coming. We can even go put zeros in if you want. 1 to 10 in the chat on the accuracy of this actor being picked to play Turtleboy. -10, zeros coming up. A lot of zeros right now. -10s, -100, a -1, 0. Someone goes, this guy is not attracting any crowds. A lot of zeros. A lot of zeros. Someone says, already said -10. Someone goes, this better be one fantastic actor with a perfect Turtleboy voice and speech pattern to get anywhere. And zeros all over the place. Someone goes, hell no, multiple zeros, hard pass. I guess the consensus here is a 0. We might even be like at a negative average because someone put like a -100. So we might be at like -1 or -2, -1 million. So now the average is like negative. We're probably at like -500,000 at this point right now. So a lot of zeros. Someone goes, they would not subscribe to his OnlyFans. Whoever cast this guy thought they were casting an actual turtle. Negative quadruples, multiple 0. Some people argue this guy actually does look like a human version of a turtle. Someone goes, this guy is not fixing my fridge. Oh my goodness, these comments are cracking me up right now. I think we should judge the accuracy of their accents post-movie. I agree. Someone goes, they are personifying Turtleboy, a boy who lives in a dark, dank shell. We've seen Turtleboy's house before. It's a nice house. Someone goes, Glare is going to have a blast with this. Turtleboy lives in a very nice house. So we've seen his house. Obviously it's a nice room, but this just looks like it looks like they're portraying him here. Not that he's I'm not sure if this is a basement or a garage that they're trying to portray him in here, but this is like, come on. Yeah, I saw his reaction about that. That was funny. Someone goes, imagine this guy hosting Sex Cult on Thursday. Oh my goodness. Now, about the portrayal of Turtleboy, Turtleboy obviously, did quite a bit in popularizing this and had a heavy presence, from his articles to his shows to physically being out there. It looks like the glare is the house. And co-starring as Turtleboy, Matthew Lillard's crackhead half-brother. I'm thinking the guy who played Beast in X-Men First Class, who recently played Lex Luthor, whatever that actor's name is. Hold on. X-Men First Class. X-Men First Class. One sec. What's the actor's name there? What's his name? What's the actor? I'm going to have to look this up. Actor. Nicholas Hoult. That's who he looks like. Nicholas Hoult. When he was younger, though. X-Men. Not like Nicholas Hoult now, but Nicholas Hoult when he was younger. Where is he here? There we go. Okay, one sec. Yeah, Nicholas Hoult. Let's enlarge this image here. He looks like this guy. Hold on. Can I share the screen instead? Share screen. Here we go. One moment. He looks like this actor here. Right there. Nicholas Hoult. That's who he looks like. He looks like this kid here when he was younger. Except he's got a lot more body weight on him. This other kid looks thinner. But yeah, that's who he looks like a little bit. Yeah. That's funny. Jeez. But yeah, what I'm intrigued to see is that are they gonna how much of portrayal of Turtleboy will be in this movie? Will this be a significant portion of the movie, or obviously it's about Karen Reed. When I say significant, I mean like 3 or more scenes, or will it just be like will it be like a scene where they're like, this thing's picking up on social media, and they just cut like a quick clip of Turtleboy real quick, in the movie, and he's just like Karen Reed's innocent, and they just kind of like when they're going to show Karen Reed supporters, are they going to show him in passing? Are they just going to show Karen Reed supporters in passing, or are they going to have this actor here, this the character that's portraying Turtleboy, actually have a role in the movie that is has a few scenes, all that stuff? How much are they going to dig into his character? Will they have this character shown in the courtroom, as a reporter? How are they going to portray him? Or is it just going to be like one scene? So that's what I'm intrigued to see about Lifetime tonight. How are they going to include Turtleboy into this movie? And again, how much of this movie will feature him in it? So that's what I'm interested in seeing. And that should be interesting to see there. So there's the portrayal of Turtleboy, who looks like he's being portrayed by Norm Macdonald when he was 16 years old. Yeah. All right. So we'll move on to the next slide. Here we go. So the next slide, here you go. Now that's us. That's us here. We got extras hired by Lifetime to portray us. Now that sign right in the middle there. It's the sign. It's right in the middle, but there's 8 signs there that are being handheld. If you look to the one, so if you go from actually the one on the right as well, the sign on the far right, then it's the sign just to the left of the framed FKR black sign. You see that free Karen Reed sign? That's pretty much spot on. That's pretty much spot on right there with the signs we typically had. Yeah, we should have portrayed ourselves in the movie for sure. Definitely should. Are we sure those are extras? I guess. But yeah, this is definitely a reenactment of our standouts and everything we did. National standouts and all that. They even got like the curtain kind of style sign there hanging over the ledge. It says "Free Karen Reed." Remember, we had those big signs at quite a bit of our standouts, and that just says like framed, free Karen Reed, all over the place. So it'll be funny. It'll be funny to see us portrayed a little bit. So wait, what? Hold on, really? Hold on, let me expand this. I can't tell, man. I can't tell. I know. And that woman there holding that sign that says "Free Karen Reed," the one where it says "free," then it's so it says "free" in black, then Karen in white, then it has the black background to it, the middle one. I mean, she does look a little bit like Greta. I just don't recall ever seeing this image. I don't know. I think this is reenactment. That's just my portrayal. That's just my opinion, but we'll see. Once I see this on a larger screen, the Karen Reed actress is standing with them potentially. Someone said, yeah, right next to that free Karen Reed sign. Yeah. Now, what I like is the lady on the right. She's wearing like a black jacket with a blue hoodie, and we had those free Karen Reed hoodies that were that color. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. Hold on. I cannot tell. I think this is just extras. That's just my opinion, but we'll find out. Well, let's go. We'll put it to the chat. Just type in real footage or extras? Real footage or extras? Give us your thoughts on this particular image. Real footage or extras? I'm going to say extras. I'm saying extras. Real footage or extras? Nobody in pink, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people saying extras. Extra. All right. A lot of people saying extras, digitally created. Real footage, see preview. Predominantly extras. Some people are even saying CGI. Someone says, Sarah says, I'm going to say CGI. This says extras, digitally created too. Extras, CGI. Someone says real footage. Extras are popping up here a lot. They do have pink, but it's in a later scene. I'll show you guys that in a moment. Extras. Someone says lame extras. The other Mary B says fake. Then the next person says real. So fake, real. It looks like they made a sticker. Someone says really can't tell. It's the location that makes me think they're extras. That's what I say too. Because I don't really ever remember anybody having a standout there, even though there were a lot of standouts, and I don't recall every standout. AI extras. Someone goes, rather than watch the movie, I recommend people watch Microdots' video for 2 hours. Actually, you're right about that, especially if they're newer. And I think that, hey, if you guys happen to run, I would say this too. If you guys run across any people that are new to this after tonight on X or anything, send them some Microdot footage. Just reply to them and say, hey, I'm glad you guys watched the movie, but if you really would like to see some insight, watch the Microdots videos here on YouTube. Recommend Microdots to them because that'll be great because this is a story that's big and these movies are only going to popularize it even more. So that would be a great way to get people more information because they're only going to see, it's like every time you watch a movie, like this, how many times have we watched movies in reality that are based on reality, I should say, and we've never heard of the story before. And then you're like, my God, is this a real story? Then you go and you Google it and you watch some other documentaries and you find out a lot more about what actually happened. For a lot of people tonight, they're going to be seeing this story for the first time, or maybe they vaguely heard about it. So I would say, yeah, if you guys run into anybody on the internet the next couple of days that says they saw the movie and want to talk about it, send them some Microdots footage. That'll be, that will kind of get them a lot more information because we don't know what inaccuracies or accuracies are going to be in this movie. And obviously, the anti-Karen Reed world is going to be saying that this movie is, in whatever way this movie favors Karen tonight, I'm sure the anti-Karen Reed's going to say inaccuracy, inaccurate. Karen Reed did it. They're going to be doing that all night long and into tomorrow. So it will be interesting. But I'm expecting a positive Karen Reed portrayal, but I don't know if all the details are going to be in it because, again, there's a lot to cram in here, and it's a lot of content for sure. So, all right, let's go to the next slide. All right, there we go. Okay, moving along here. Actually, let me get this out of here. There we go. Okay, let's get this out of here. It will favor her as innocent. They'll just do it poorly. Yeah, that's a Lifetime movie in a nutshell right there. To be fair, I think we're all going to be saying that. I agree. And it is a complicated story. Exactly. It's a lot of content to cover, in a short amount of time. Yeah. All right. Next up. Okay. Here you guys go. Here's your next shot. All right. Now these are definitely extras because you know something? I don't recognize any of these people. Okay. I don't recognize any of these people. All right. So these appear to be what I would say are extras. All wearing pink gear for the most part. They got their signs. This is obviously not during the first trial, and it's not during the second trial, during when the buffer zone was enacted. So this is what's interesting is that most of this was during warm weather, both trials. So this is supposed to be the second trial. Nobody's rocking that kind of gear in Dedham. Larry goes, how was that standout? What are you talking about? Is the dude on the right supposed to be Scott? No. Scott, it's not Scott, but that's fun. That's a good joke right there. So that's supposed to be Scott. We got to have, they got to have Scott McGinnis in this movie. We were talking about this earlier. They got to have a guy, Scott McGinnis. I mean, there's a handful of people out there. All right, Tom CPU, handful of people out there that were Peter Murphy, handful of people, Dennis and Brenda, that were out there all the time. Like if there's people that need actors portraying them, or let's go, better than that. We don't need actors portraying them. Erica, right. So many people. List them off in the chat. List all the names. Someone gave us a 7. Better than casting character, Dina. I'll name everybody. Yeah. Better than casting characters. It would have been awesome at one point in a movie if they actually had people listing them off here. Erica, Dina, Tom, Dennis, Rita, Scott. Exactly. It would be awesome if one day they did make a movie and they actually had the people that were actually out there day in and day out as themselves in the movie. Why did they not cut some footage? It could be for a few different reasons. It could be that they didn't want to pay anybody for the rights to the footage. It could be that they didn't want to get footage for, from, say, like local networks. So maybe that was what it was. That's all I can think about. Is that probably, typically these movies want to own the footage they use. So they pretty much just get extras that they hire. Everything's their own stuff. They might just be doing it that way. That's my guess, is that just the production company's decision on that. And it's just kind of funny for us because this is, like I said earlier, for us, this is the first time we're ever going to, I don't know if anybody else has been a part of, and I'm not talking about following a story. I mean, we were literally a part of this story in a sense that we were active supporters, whether in person or whatever. We have actively participated in supporting Karen Read. And this is the first time where what we did is being portrayed in a movie. And it's just funny to see people holding Karen Read signs. It's like, don't know her, don't know him, don't know her. Right. This is all of our story. It's Karen Read's story first and foremost. John O'Keefe's story, first and foremost. But we, at some point of all in the full spectrum of this, have all entered this fray to the point where even the movies are portraying supporters, in their movie, which is fantastic. That see us, as Karen Read supporters, have these actors representing us, but at the same time, it's just funny because we don't know these people. They're just actors. They're probably people that act in multiple movies as extras that probably may have never heard about the story before, for all we know, or maybe had in passing. But it's interesting for sure, to say the least. But one thing is for sure, these extras were on our side because they were out to free Karen. Even if it wasn't in reality, these people were out to free Karen Read in the movie. So we got to give them some credit. They are our people. I mean, these are our people. Okay, they did it. Because you got content creators, you got boots on the ground, you got the people that do the standouts, you got people that do the fundraisers, people that do the signs, but you have to have the Karen Read supporters in the movie too. So these people, these extras, we had to have extras. So we got extras helping us out a little bit. So they're technically our people, even though we don't know. Scott goes, haha, where's my free Karen Read sign? They got to have Scott out there. That's funny. Phoned in boots. That's funny. All right, next image. What do we got next? Oh, here we go. We got more of this here. We got more of this. This guy in the front here, he has a megaphone. This is not like the megaphone that we were using in Dedham when we were on the Registry of Deeds in the summer of 2024. If anyone remembers me in that image of me being on the megaphone, they listed my name as Paul Cristoforo on Fox 25. That was funny. It showed me, and it was like, this is Paul, and it's actually Mazza. That was funny. But yeah, they got this guy out there with the pink sign. That megaphone looks like it was purchased for $15 on Amazon. But hey, why not? Bring it to the show. All that. Someone's got like a pink scarf on in the background. Maybe they got the pink pom-poms back there. I think that lady's got pink pom-poms, which the pom-poms were very popular outside the buffer zone. I think during the first trial. I can't remember if the pom-poms came back for the second trial, but we had a lot of the ladies had the pom-poms. At one point, they asked me to start waving the pom-poms, and I said, I am not. I go, look, I'm not waving the pom-poms. Okay. I'm not waving the pom-poms. Like, Mazza, wave the pom-poms. I'm like, no. It's not a lack of support. I'll hold the sign. I'm not waving the pom-poms. I don't wave pom-poms. Okay. It's not what I do. Okay. I'm like, not gonna happen. I'm like, that's not, I'm not gonna, you're not gonna see me like that, like waving pom-poms, like, not happening. Not happening. Yeah, exactly. 6'5" waving pom-poms. All of a sudden it's on the news. And all of a sudden all my friends from growing up are like, Mark, yeah, just saw you on the news. Oh, that's great. Well, why were you waving pom-poms on the news? I'm like, here we go. No pom-poms. I was actually, here's a little secret. I never wore pink. Never wore pink. I said I wore red, but I would not wear, I was like Kramer and Seinfeld when he didn't wear the ribbon. Who refuses to wear the ribbon? That was me. I was the guy like, I'll wear red, because my argument was this. Okay. Karen's favorite color is pink, but we also used pink hearts, and red was also pretty much the color of a heart. So I said, you know what? I won't wear pink, but I will wear red. I go, I'll wear red. I go, I just, I can't, I don't know. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't. I'm sorry. I don't want to have my support called into question here, but I'm like, I'll wear the red. I can wear the red. That's cool. I can't, I don't know. It's just being that 1980s boy. I just couldn't do it. I'm like, no. I can't do it. So I'm like, I can wear the red. I can wear the red. That was my red's for heart. Red's love. I'm like, that worked. But that's just me. So yeah, they got the portrayers here. She says, I think guys look great in pink. That's funny. All right, here we go. All right, next image. All right, this is the image that I was looking to get talking about here. Now, okay, so Auntie Bev is in this shot. Okay, she's there. Did I save that image? No, I saved this. What did I save this as? I saved this as a PDF file. So this is a PDF file. I took this image. So I snapped this image and I put it in a PowerPoint. And then what did I do afterwards? Okay, so I can't zoom in on this image. Okay. But yeah, they do portray, I was waiting for another image of her, but they never showed it. So I stuck with this image alone. Then never went back and zoomed in. I'm just thinking about what I did creatively when I created this. Someone goes, you have to be really secure to wear pink. Yeah, I'll wear the red. I'll wear the red. All right, Sarah B. Creative sends a super chat. Since I've been watching this movement, it's very funny. I was thinking about the first time you went from audio to visual and how excited we were. Heart, swords, and love to you. Thank you so much, Sarah B. Creative. Appreciate you being a supporter as well and always active in the chat. You're awesome, and appreciate your support as well. Through and through. Can't say enough good things about you. I don't think we've never met, though, I don't think, right? I don't think we've ever met in person. But no, thank you, Sarah B. Creative, for that super chat. All right. I could do like a pink tie. Like, I think I would do like a pink tie with like a black jacket, like a black suit with a black shirt and then a pink tie. I'd rock that look. But you know what I did, though? I did wear the pink heart lapels. I said, I won't wear a pink shirt, but I'll wear the pink heart lapel. So when I went into court the first time around, that was in June. It was like the last couple of weeks. It was the last couple of weeks of the direct examination in the first trial. They gave me like a pink lapel heart. So I pinned that. So like I said, I was willing to wear pink items, but I was like, I'm not going to wear an all pink shirt. That was my argument. Yeah. So that's it. I'll wear things that are pink as like flair, like 30 pieces of flair, like an Office Space. Would do that. But I was like, I couldn't wear like the all pink look. I'm like, no, I couldn't do it. I'm like, no. But if you want to put a pink item, not a problem. All right, here we go. All right, so yeah, they got Judge Bev. Now, I like what Lifetime's did here. A Lifetime has done here with this courtroom. This courtroom, for the most part, it's not entirely accurate, but it's good enough for the movie. So I did, yes, that they make a good point. So I did wear that's right. So unlike Kramer, I did wear the ribbon. Who refuses to wear the ribbon? Yes, that's right. So I did, that's right. So that's my out. The other Mary B has given me my out in this whole thing. So yes, I did wear pink. I wore a pink heart lapel. Boom. Good. We're good. We're good to go. All right. Next up, back to the courtroom. I know this is a funny segment. We're having some fun here today. We want to have a good time. Yes, this is a pretty good job overall for the courtroom. I agree. Glamasseuse. This is good enough. There's some inaccuracies here. Like the screen's a little bit off from where it really was. There's a podium to the left here, but that wasn't there. It was actually to the right, where the other one is in the lower right. Like there was one there. There was a railing here where the O'Keefe supporters sat. Then the media were back to the left. Then on the right, that's where the jury was. Then they have the desk, the front desk. They have the Madam Court reporters. Excuse me, they have Bev, then Madam Court reporter there. Then they have where everybody's directing the witnesses go. Then they got the prosecution. Then they got a special desk just for the defense. So they got some pretty good stuff going on here. I like this portrayal. I'm glad they just didn't use a random courtroom because this courtroom is too distinct. You can use a random bar that can pass as C.F. McCarthy's. You can use a random courthouse that can pass as a courthouse. But with this is a courtroom that was so distinct that you got to have at least an 80% level of accuracy. So let's poll the viewers. On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate this courtroom? I'm actually going to give it, I'm going to give them a 10. I'll give them, I'm going to be kind to them, even though that podium and the TV aren't in the right place. They made the effort. They got it there. So I'm going to give them a perfect 10. I'm going to be a little kind to them with that, with the extra point. We got 9 coming up, 10 coming up, a lot of 9s, a lot of 10s, 9.5s, 8s, 1 7 came up, a lot of 8s. I'm going to say the consensus right now is probably going to be a 9, which is good. 9.9, 9, 8, 10s, 10, 10. Someone said 6. The family's in the wrong place too. Yeah, it's a little bit off. 8, no shower curtain. 7, 9.5. I don't know. This would be the trial, I'm guessing here. No shower curtain. 8, 9. So some good. This is pretty good. I'd say like a solid. I'd say we could consensusly say a 9 without question. Not bad at all. I think it's good. I think it's pretty good. Yeah, no, that's a good question. Where's the fan? Where is the fan? We got to have the fan. If they don't have the fan, yeah, that's a good point. That might be, I'm going to say this. If there's no fan, there has to be a point deduction. So they got to have the fan. If they don't have the fan, then that's a point deduction. So I got to say definitely on that. So there we go. All right, next image. Here's a good shot of the courtroom here. So this shows you 2 additional things. Once again, no Eliza Little. Now, this guy in the background that we talked about earlier, let me just go back to that image. Right there. See that guy in the far back right? See where the bailiff is? See that guy in the blue shirt? That guy here? We suspected that might have been a lessee. But when we go forward here, right there, he's right between Alan Jackson and Karen, and he appears to be, I forget, it could be Evan. It could be Evan, or it could be the man from, I forget the guy's name, the guy from the first trial, depending on what trial this is supposed to be. But there's no Eliza Little there. So that's 3 images now. Eliza Little is just not in this movie. You got 3 different images now that show you that she's not in this movie. So let's go through it. So we got 1, no Eliza Little. I need to find this one right here, no Eliza Little. And then we go through it again, no Eliza Little. someone goes, why is it's hard to be very creative? Goes, why is AJ a Timo Christian Bale? Yeah, could be Craig, could be Evan, could be either one of them, or it could just be they're just going to have a guy sit there all movie long and they're not going to name him, and it's just going to be they told this extra to sit in the back there. You're just going to be like the guy that sits there. They're not going to even they could be doing that too. Where is our beloved Madam Court Reporter? The OG Madam Court Reporter was my favorite. But yeah. But as far as the courtroom goes, I like it. They have the family section in the back left of your screen there. That's where Janet and Bill sat. Betterow sat there. I sat there. Allison, Jason, so many other people sat back there. Erica, so many of the supporters sat in Nick and Jenna. Will, so many people sat back there. Friends of Karen sat back there. Yeah, so that's a good point. Clean-shaven Alan Jackson would be trial one Alan Jackson, because Alan Jackson had a beard in the second one. Grizzly Adams did have a beard. Thank you, Lola. I heard they combined the two trials into one. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. See, I'm going to have a problem with that. Now, I understand Lifetime's argument that they just want to tell the story all the way through. But if they're not defining two different trials, that's I don't like that portrayal. I'm worried about movies always combining things, combining stories. Yeah, Nathan's faces were the best. Nathan always sitting back there. Love to look at Nathan every now and then just to see his reaction to little moments. Always great. Karen's parents might be further off to the left. We'll have to wait to see. Scott sat in during the trial as well. But yeah, this looks pretty good. I mean, it looks good enough for a movie. It looks good enough for a movie. That's what I have to say. Good enough for a movie. Good enough for Lifetime. Pretty solid quality on a Lifetime level, if that makes sense to you. Yeah, I know that woman, that person in the back, is that Sue O'Connell? I don't know. They got to have Sue. They got to have, a few other people that were from the local networks and all that. They got to have Aiden back there. All right, next up, this is my last image. Okay, so this is the final image. To me, I don't know. I get the vibe that this is the end of the second trial here, that this is it. This is the victorious moment. Karen's happy. Alan Jackson's happy. Yeah, someone goes, Leslie's missing all of a sudden. So, yeah, that's their portrayal. They did Eliza a little dirty, no question about it. But those are the clips from the trailer here that we've seen. So this looks like this is the end. It's all over. And they're good to go. Karen's good to move on with their life, which is great news. It was what we all fought for so long, which is good stuff. So, there's going to be a lot of things we're going to notice. I'm interested to see if Microdots does a breakdown video, or Microdots, maybe if he does. I don't want to volunteer his time and effort, but it'd be awesome if he did like a video combining things. Someone goes, Mazza should have worn pink pants. Oh my goodness. That's funny. Yeah, they did not do AJ's suits well at all. Exactly. AJ had better suits than the Lifetime suits. Okay. Alan Jackson goes to the top of the line luxury stores, I'm guessing, to get those suits that he had. This is just like, Men's Warehouse, which is a great place. That's where I go. I go to Men's Warehouse. I do too. But, or maybe they went to the JCPenney suit section. I don't know. That was, Lifetime could not afford AJ suits, probably. Yeah. Jackson's always like a movie star, always a movie star, always had the hair going, and always looked sharp. Yeah. Oh, I think JCPenney's is still going on. Yeah. AJ suits are custom made. I believe it. Like, the tough part about having suits, though, like me over the years, is my body weight has fluctuated. Like, I've been very muscular. I've been very thin. I've been muscular but overweight. I've been muscular, but then I've lost the weight. So it's like every couple of years I got to buy a new suit and all that. So that's good to go. So, all right, that's segment one. So segment one of this show, we have 4 segments on this show. It took 2 hours and roughly 10 minutes to do the first segment of this show, which is incredible. But we're going to try to wrap this up in 3. I was going to do a 2-hour show. What, the game doesn't start till 4:30? So we got some time. We got some time here. All right, so let's you emailed it to me, Lola? Let me take a look. We're gonna talk about Commissioner Cox next. That was a fun segment. I had a good time. Let's see. Oh, you have a comparison? I see what you sent here. Oh, yeah. I see the comparison. Yeah, that's funny. All right, so we're going to talk about Commissioner Cox. So there was some news that came out. Let me get to that news. One moment. Oh, I'm already there. Okay. So Mass Daily News talked about Boston Police Commissioner Michael Cox and saying he's expected to depart. Now, when someone says they're expected to depart, that usually means that they're going to pass away, right? The departed, that's what that usually means, but they meant depart from the police department. So obviously everyone on our side's like, great, because this guy has been obviously being quite insincere, denying who he's aware of, what's going on in his own department, talking about, I don't know about that. I'm not aware of this. I don't know. You're not aware that John O'Keefe was one of your police officers? You're not aware that Kelly Dever was one of your officers or is one of your officers? You're not aware of that? It's just kind of, come on. It's wild. It's wild stuff. And this is obviously a police committee. I mean, one of the things that needs to happen and is happening, like you look at Canton right now, look what's happening there. New chief. That's a major change. Select board, they're changing some seats. One of those seats is about to change again. A lot of things are changing up throughout our state. We're making change. We are. It's taking a lot of time, but it does take. I mean, these things take time in life, and it takes like Peter Murphy, Brenda Sweeney. They were up there years ago before that select board. They're still up there now, fighting that fight. Dennis is always there. These people are fighting a good fight. And they've always worked and pushed, and it's always the hardest in the initial stages because you're starting with things that are locked in a certain way. And you look at now Norfolk County, that's another thing. Adam Deach, so the Canton Select Board, the chief of police in Canton, the Norfolk County DA's office trying to get Adam Deach elected. There's a lot of things that are changing over time here. It just takes some time to get there. It takes time. And once you get there, you're successful. But it's about us all not forgetting what we set out to do. And that's what we're remembering. We're remembering to support these people. We're remembering to continue to push our way through and fight for justice, fight for change, and realistically get people removed through the election process out of where they're doing no good, and not allowing people that are responsible for what's gone on. You look at Sandra Birchmore. I mean, we talk about Karen Reed. Look at Sandra Birchmore. What went on there? I mean, you got Adam Deach now is trying to uncover this stuff. And it's the same thing with the Boston Police Department. It's when these people are heavily contested in terms of having their character under evaluation, and you're saying to yourself, they're not good. They're not doing any good. They're out there and they're corrupt, or they're not. They're the best interests that they have are for themselves. It's not for the people. We can't afford to have, senators, governors, presidents, all that stuff. We obviously talk about that a lot, but lower levels of government, your police commissioners, your police chiefs, your state representatives, your DAs. These are all the low level politicians or people in office or police departments that have power. And when something like what happened in North Andover with Kelsey Fitzsimmons happens, you know what I mean? It's, what's going on there? What's going on with Karen? What happened to Karen? What happened to Sandra Birchmore? What happened with Enrique? All this stuff happens. But we need people in charge that are going to handle those situations and not cover them up. And when we listen to Commissioner Cox, I don't know. Well, I'm not aware of that. I wasn't aware of this. I'm police commissioner. What do I know? It's just no, like that. The public cannot have confidence in anyone that's going to act that way or portray themselves that way. If they want to say like, well, you know what, if they're a good, honest chief, they're going to say, well, we're reviewing that information. We're going to talk about that at a later time. Right now, it's under wraps. I guess that's acceptable if that person in power is someone that the public can trust. But Commissioner Cox, he kind of didn't really represent himself all that well, in my opinion. I didn't think so at all. And I was quite, like many people, unsatisfied. So right now, the rumors are from Mass Daily News. They're on Twitter. They have 51.9 thousand followers. A lot of people we all know or recognize on Twitter do follow this page. And they reported this on January 7th, 3 days ago. Later that same day, they came back with more context. Per a source familiar with the matter. So it's a source. One second. When I talk by myself, I just have to. Sometimes just like I got to take that drink, or I'm not going to be able to continue talking. All right. So the census Cox had enough, and the timing aligns with Wu. That's Mayor Michelle Wu, starting a new term, allowing her to pick her own person for the next 4 years. Chief of Staff Nicole Taub, I'm saying that right, is also expected to depart. There's been no official announcement yet. So this whole story right now is based on sources. So right now, this is other than Mass Daily News reporting this, I couldn't find any other articles on this as of yet. But there's been another controversy, I think, in the last day or two in Boston as well. I forget the story. I haven't researched it. There's just been way too much going on in the news, quite honestly, as you guys are well aware of. Right now that I've been also following, I won't mention that story, but you guys are obviously well aware of it. And I've just been very busy with college football and other things as well. It's kind of kept me from researching that story as much as I'd like. If I don't know much about it, I don't try not to talk about it, but I can always defer to the chat about that. But this is, again, more information where I happen to believe this story. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Lola. Something's always happening there. But it's interesting. He's had enough. This is what the source is saying. The sense is that Cox has had enough. Had enough of what? Had enough of dealing with us as, I don't mean Karen Reed or Turtleboy supporters or whatever. I just mean that collectively people that are contesting him. What has he had enough of? And I would say there's been a lot of public outrage to him, a lot of public concern. And, this is all stuff that, what has he had? Maybe my brain's freezing here. What has he had enough of exactly? I think sometimes when these people get under too much fire, it's one thing. Like, let's talk about corruption. Corruption exists so long as it's not found out. Corruption exists so long as it's not uncovered or confronted. Corruption exists so long as the light is not ultimately shined on it. And once the light is shined on it, that's when people start to dissipate their support. When you start to say, hey, there are police in this town, or a chief, or a commissioner in the city, or whatever, that are corrupt, the public, if the light shined on it, and there's enough news about it, that usually brings about change, because the chief of Canton is no longer there. You know what I mean? Things have changed in Canton. Things are changing in our state. And unfortunately, it takes things that happen that are tragic, like what happened to John O'Keefe, to bring about change, to get the public to see this is not good. This can't happen. And I don't like the fact that Karen Reed was framed for something. I don't like that John O'Keefe has not at this time. And we're closing in on 3 years, 4 years, not 3 years, 4 years. Nearly 4 years. 4 years is a long time. That's a trip through high school or college, or a term as a president is 4 years. And this thing is still being fought out now at the grassroots level, the ground level, or in the trenches maybe, in civil suits. And you got a lot going on here, and there's been no justice for John O'Keefe yet. And to me, justice for John O'Keefe is the people that actually committed this, person or persons, whoever the hell it was. I mean, there's a lot of theories. I'm not going to, we all have theories. But whomever did it, the only way John O'Keefe ever gets any justice is if the perpetrator or perpetrators are taken into custody for this. And I wonder, because this was proposed by Boozy Beauty on Twitter, I believe. I believe it was her that said this. What if Adam Deitch becomes the DA? What if Adam Deitch decides to open the investigation? So, maybe like people like myself that have been saying, well, it's all on the feds now. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. Maybe if Adam Deitch gets elected as the DA, maybe he opens up this investigation again. Maybe that investigation shows something. A lot changes when Big Brother is not in office anymore. So, I mean, his election is what? November? He'd be in office in early 2027? Is that the time frame right on that? I mean, that's extremely interesting. But you look at things going on in Boston with Commissioner Cox, and it's just, I happen to believe this story is going to prove out to be true. Someone said, didn't he already investigate? I believe so. I think so as well. I think he's done quite a bit. I'm going to start to review a lot more of his stuff as time goes on here. There may even be a fundraiser. Jen, what's going on? I may even do a fundraiser for him as well. November, and I believe he takes office in January. That sounds about right to me. Yeah. I'd be interesting to see what he can do as DA. I'm telling you right now, that would be interesting. Clean up Norfolk County. But yeah, I'm interested to see what's happening with Cox. There's no official announcement yet, but we'll see how that story plays out. Now, we're switching gears here. All right, let me get me another drink. I'm getting a lot of water. Need a lot of water. If you live in Norfolk County, vote for Adam Deitch. And we're going to, need to get out there too and support this man as much as we can. I mean, even though, I'm going to have to go back. I'm probably going to have to go out there as well and help out because I want to be out there for this. This is important. I just think this is a part of the whole as well. All right. So I have some Kelsey Fitzsimmons information as well today. Let's start off with, I have two pieces of information for you on that. All right. Let's start off with the news that is about Kelsey's next pretrial hearing. All right. So actually, no, let me take a step back. The next Kelsey Fitzsimmons fundraiser on this channel is looking like next week. Next Sunday is the projected date. The Patriots playoffs is going to determine, like it is right now with this weekend, is determining my schedule. So it depends on when the Patriots play next week. If they play on Saturday, I'm going to do the fundraiser on Sunday. If they play on Sunday, I'm going to do the fundraiser on Saturday. So whatever day they don't play, that's going to be the day of the fundraiser. It will probably be later in the evening on Saturday if it goes, so probably like 6. And then if it's Sunday, it's probably going to be around 4. So right now I have it scheduled for Sunday at 4. If the Patriots play on Saturday, that's the lockdown time, pretty much, is what the plan is. So we're going to be working on that. We raised a lot of money for her. We're going to continue to do that. We're just going to have, I'm thinking like one fundraiser a month or 1 to 2 fundraisers a month. And we're just going to continue to push her story. We're going to continue to help her out. We're going to continue to fight for her because like we've seen with Karen Reed, it's been very fantastically successful. I sound like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's been very fantastically successful. This has been the most tremendous thing ever. This is great and so fantastic. All right. But yeah, it's an Arnold Schwarzenegger impression out of nowhere. But yeah, we're going to continue to do what we can for her. I'm just going to do the best I can, and I think that's all I can ever do. And I can just do what we can, reach fundraiser. Even if it's $500 to $1,000, that's great. Let's just keep getting money in for her and helping her out, giving her an opportunity to fight for herself. Just like Karen Reed, I feel like this is someone that's a victim of corruption, and none of this is justified. And I just feel like this is something that, to me, is worth my time. And I feel privileged that I have an opportunity coming off of the Karen. Not that I want to see something like this happen to somebody, but I say to myself, since I've done so much, I've used this platform for helping people, I always want to look for someone else that I think I can help. And with Kelsey, I said, this is a story that interests me. This is someone I want to help. I can do fundraisers, I can raise awareness, and I'm bringing people on this show that want to do that too. And that's where I want to be with that too. So I want to help out Kelsey next week, fundraiser for her. We're going to be back in business, helping that process out, and just continuing to expand her defense fund. It's not only just for her defense, but it's for her health, surgeries, other expenses that she needs. And I'm just very happy right now that she's out of jail, that she's back home. She was back in time for Christmas. She's been back home for about 16 days now, which is great. And then I'm hoping to help her as much as we can. So we'll continue to do that. I want to thank everybody that's been helping me out with this too. Sharing the stream when it's live. Also, donating primarily to that defense fund during those lives. It's great. I don't consider my numbers. I consider them our numbers to Kelsey. I will actually be on this fundraiser that Friday. I think it's 7:00. Lauren Katie, who comes on this show a lot for Kelsey fundraisers, will be, I think she just opened up her own channel last night. So she will be, you see it in the comments there. She's on YouTube now. She's going to be doing a fundraiser. That's great news right there, Mama Bug. She'll be on her live doing a fundraiser that night as well for the 23rd on her new channel. So we're going to help promote that for her. What I'll do that night is I'm going to share the link to her fundraiser on my pages. So that way people that follow me can gain access to that as quickly as possible. And with the new channel, I don't know how big the audience is just yet. So we want to make sure Lauren has the biggest audience possible. We want to get her as many subs as possible. Help out Lauren, who's helping out Kelsey. New channels, it can be tough to get them. So we're going to help her magnify to do the great work that Lauren wants to do. She really wants to dedicate her time to this, and she really wants to do great work. And we're going to help out Lauren, help Kelsey. And that's great. And it's good because I want to see, I'd love to see more fundraisers for Kelsey as well, beyond my channel. So I'm happy Lauren is putting in some time as well to do this as well. It's fantastic. And I'm happy. So subscribe to her. This is her YouTube channel, just getting going. So it's good to build up the channels as quickly as we can for these great people. Like Lauren. So we'll help her out and build her channel. And great. And we have someone subscribing here. Melinda's subscribing. That's great to hear. That's really, really good. And then I'll be on that show the 23rd, Friday night. I'll be there. And then Lauren will more than likely be on my show next weekend as well. And she's at 603 subs. Let's see if we can get her up to over 1,000. Today, by this weekend, if we can. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Thunder wants to chat. Thunder Horse as well for subbing to her. Get the chats up, get the subscribers up for her, help her out. That's great. All right, and then she'll be on my show more than likely, and then I'm going to start reaching out to people to join the fundraiser once I get the idea of when the day and time is. I'm kind of wait for that first. Once I get the time set, it's like, okay, here we go. All right, so Kelsey Fitzsimmons is returning to court this week. This was just announced this week, and we are hearing that Kelsey and her legal team are back in court this Tuesday before Judge McCarthy Naiman for another pretrial discovery hearing to review compliance with prior discovery orders. At the last pretrial conference on December 19th, Judge Drechsler endorsed the discovery agreement negotiated between ADA Gubitos and defense counsels Bradel and Coakley. Tuesday's proceedings will be at Essex County Superior Court, that's 56 Federal Street in Salem, Mass., Tuesday at 12 p.m. in courtroom K. Let me dump this information in the chat here. I don't know if these emojis are going to work. There we go. Perfect. All right, so the location is Essex County Superior Court, 56 Federal Street, Salem, Massachusetts, 12 o'clock in courtroom K. I will not be there, but I am looking at February to begin making appearances in that court. I'm probably going to wait for trial. And I said this before, because I have to take a day off, because it's a long ride, if I take a day off from work, say like I went to the last hearing, which was over in minutes, I can't like risk taking time and driving that far for something that might not last that long. So I'm trying to save up my time for the trial, which will usually be a good couple hours. So that's kind of my ideology behind all this, because this is a ride for me. I'd like to be out there, but this is a longer ride than it was to get to Dedham. And it's going to be, I might only get there once or twice tops throughout this whole thing. So I'm going to definitely be out there at least one time. No question about that. But I will not be here. But many good people will. So anyone that's supporting, get out there, support her, get out there and just be a presence. This is going to be a great, great run for Kelsey fighting this thing. She's going to have a lot of success. It's going to be a bit of a fight, but she's going to be on her way. So Essex County Superior Court, that's 56 Federal Street, Salem, Massachusetts. And that's going to be 12 p.m. in courtroom K. Thank you, Becky. I appreciate the kind words. Salem's a tough ride for a lot of people, that's for sure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a ride and a half. Absolutely. Rhonda throwing up the purple hearts for Kelsey. That's fantastic. Thank you. And all right. So that's the news on that. The key functions, there will be evidence sharing. This is where the prosecutor provides discovery materials to the defense, documents, recordings, test results, for example. There's going to be some case management going on that particular day. The judge is going to set timelines. They're going to clarify issues and prevent delays. There's going to be some settlement talks at this pretrial hearing. The parties may negotiate plea deals or dismissals to resolve the case early. And then there's going to be preparation for trial. This is where they identify strengths and weaknesses of each side's case, narrowing issues for trial. So this will be a very productive day in that courtroom. And this should be a good opportunity to I don't know how many more pretrial hearings they're going to have. I don't know if there's going to be any delays. I know that the Karen Reed trial, both times was actually delayed. It was actually supposed to be, I think, in January last year, but it got pushed out to around April. I think it was April the second trial started. I can't remember now. I think it was April, so it might be a pushback. We'll see, but it's like anything. I want to see Kelsey go through a very smooth process, meaning the pretrial parameters are done. The trial starts. It's set. They go to trial. Here we go. And things can start to move on. Now, this is a question that comes up. Let's address this question. This is important information for people to know. So I just want to go over this because this is, again, this is little complicated stuff that I want to make sure people understand. So the trial, and I'm not sure if Nicole knows this or not. She may not, but I'm just going to explain this top to bottom just for everybody, just like an overview for everybody. There's a trial portion of what's going on, and then there's a family and probate court matter that's going on. The family and probate court portion pertains to the child. So that is things that are going to be happening separately from the trial. So I just want to make sure people know that, because it gets very confusing. There's a lot of times where we see comments because people just don't have that information presented to them. So it's like, for me, it's my responsibility to ensure when I do this show that people know this information. So I just want to let everybody know that if you did not know they're two separate matters. So you might hear a lot of times where there's a pre-trial or a trial that it doesn't have anything to do with the kid. Then you might see a family and probate court matter that doesn't pertain to the trial. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that. And if anybody ever asks that question, please just everyone help them out, because we want to make sure everybody's as educated as possible on these matters. And just it's always a learning opportunity for everybody. So we want to make sure everybody has that opportunity. And like I said, I feel as people that are following this, it's our duty to make sure everybody gets the full understanding as much as possible based on what we know. So helping people is always of the utmost importance. So great question. I'm glad it was asked, and it's a great opportunity to just talk about that stuff. Okay, take care, Suze. Get that horse. Do we know when she returns to probate court? So that's the next portion of this segment, which we'll get into right now because it's a nice transitional piece. Right now, let me just find my data on it. I have the grandparents' visitation data. One moment. Let me get that. I put a lot of stuff on my Twitter page that I typically retrieve during my shows. It's kind of my strategy. Okay, that's the Karen Reed stuff. Here it is. Okay, so there was a comment somebody made to me about this on Twitter. One second. So this is what someone said to me on Twitter. I think Kelsey will have a partial custody visit sometime soon. That's the most information I have on that. So someone had said that. They were not able to confirm it, but I have not heard anything about that yet. So I don't know what's to come on that. Scott says, even in the worst scenario, Kelsey, if found guilty as currently charged, likely will get probation anyways. Her over 100 days in jails was ridiculous due to the judge's temper. I agree. Yeah, so that's we'll see what happens with Kelsey. Hopefully that happens, and it's as soon as possible. Now, the news that came out, this was from Kyle Sharkey on Twitter, at Kyle Sharkey 8. Kelsey Fitzsimmons' grandparents' visitation will have a pre-trial conference. Now, this is going to make your head explode. This is not occurring till August 7th at 8:30 in the morning. August 7th. Yeah. Probate is totally different than family. Well, they're listing it as probate and family court. One second. I have it down as, Essex Probate and Family Court. That's the name of the courthouse. Oh, you're a little bit behind. Okay, no, cool. All good. Okay. Just checking the chat. I like to be interactive with the chat. So yes, the grandparents' visitation will not be heard until August 7th. Yes, you heard that correct. This will also be in Salem. Same courthouse, 36 Federal Street, Salem. And it's a pretrial conference, domestic and equity. So yes, that's not taking place until August. I'll do the math for us all. That's not for 7 more months. And my big takeaway from that is honestly, obviously not seeing the child, whether you're Kelsey or family, whatever, obviously not seeing the child is horrible. It's horrible, right? But the thing is about children is childhood is extremely delicate. And what I mean by that is there's a big difference between an infant and a 3-month-old, a 6-month-old, a 9-month-old, a 1-year-old, an 18-month-old, a 2-year-old. It goes by very quick. Babies, they grow quickly. And their development from week to week and month to month is delicate time, right? And honestly, anyone that's ever had a kid, had nieces, nephews, or whatever, you know that the comments often made, they grow up so quickly. Wow, they grew up quick. I can't believe they just graduated high school. I can't believe they just turned 30. I can't believe that they're starting kindergarten tomorrow. They grow up quick. And as much as this battle to get custody or joint custody or whatever steps they're going to take is bad, what bothers me the most is they lose the delicate time. They lose that time of delicacy to enjoy the child being 6 months old, a year old, and it's not, it's horrible. I mean, it's absolutely horrible that, even when the day comes where she does get to see her baby, the fact will always remain that she lost all that time because of this. Lost, can you imagine like having a kid? Man, it doesn't even matter if you father the child. Can you imagine having a kid and then you don't get to see that kid for a majority of, say, like the first year and a half of their life? It's like, okay, yeah, you had a kid, but it's like getting a new car, but you're not allowed to drive it, or a new home, but you're not allowed to live in it, or you get $1 million, but you're not allowed to spend it for a year and a half. Day to day, you're still going through all those pains. You're still dealing with that. And that's what makes me so sick to my stomach is Kelsey and her family are losing the opportunity to see a family member, to see a child that is rightfully a part of their family. And to have courts dictate this, or restraining orders dictate this, or circumstances dictate this, to me, just makes me very sick. It really does. And even if that day comes, it's like when she was when she was recently released from jail. It was great, but still, she missed Thanksgiving. She spent all that time in jail when she shouldn't have. And you don't get those days back. Life goes by quick, and trust me, we all know this. Listen to me. I had some guy at the gym the other day say to me, he goes, "Whatever you do, don't turn 60." And I said, "Well, sir, I was 22 yesterday." And he started laughing, because, yeah, I mean, honestly, 2006 was yesterday. It was yesterday. Okay. I have doubled in age practically in the last 20 something years. Okay. It goes by quick. My cousin's kids, I remember when they were all born in the late 90s in the first decade. All these kids are in college now. Okay. It's wild. But they're delicate moments that you don't get back. It's bad enough it goes by as quickly as it does already. Then you take into account that you don't even get to savor all those moments with that kid. It's unbelievable. It really is sickening. It truly is. That's the saddest part about all of this. Like I said, she got out of jail, but how many days did she lose in jail? How many days did she lose getting to see her child? It's sad. But you know what? As sad as it is, we have an opportunity to help. We have an opportunity to fight for somebody. There's defense links in the chat. I put pretty much a majority of them in there. Kelsey, Karen, Aiden, they're all in there. If you'd like to make a donation today, please go in there. Help whomever you choose out. At the end of the day, I think a fight for justice is great. Ideologies may be different among us. That's fine. But I think that, there's people out there that can use your help. If you want to support them and help them, please do. I'm just going to put the links out there, and people can decide which links they want to go to, which donations they want to make. And that's it. So, all right, that's all I have for Kelsey news. But we'll be back next week with a formalized show on all this. We'll also be talking about pretrial as well that happens. I'll have plenty of time to recap that throughout the week. So I'll have plenty of catch-up time to get caught up on it after it happens. All right, let's we're switching gears here. 2 hours, 43 minutes of true crime. I'm going to wrap this thing up at the 3-hour mark, I think, today. So let's do NFL. All right, so the NFL is back this afternoon, and it is going to be a showdown between the I get the wrong thing up. Where is my 1 second? Technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. Technical difficulties. It should be on my other thing. 1 second. I had my my Karen Reed presentation up, and I didn't have my. I use a thing to create slides. So when you see those images for the show, like I have like those little, it says like MazzaMedia, like show today or whatever. When you see that, I use like a slide system to create my graphics. So in my graphic, I have that schedule that I wanted to use for my my show today. There we go. Actually, you know what? I have an idea. The NFL posted it on their Twitter page, didn't they? I'll go to the NFL page and grab it from there. All right, let's see what we got. Let's see. I want to use the one that doesn't have today's schedule, but the whole schedule. And where are you? There we go. I got you. All right, let's open this up in a new tab. All right, football discussion. All right, there it is. All right, let's share the screen. And let's go to this one. And sharing is caring. How does that look on screen? Let's see if we like it. I don't like that at all. It's horrible. One moment. Oh, that might work better. I don't like it. You know, I'm just going to pull this. We don't need it. I don't like it. All right. I don't like it at all. All right. I'll just use it for visual. All right. So today, 2 games are on. And it's NFC games only today. So there's 2 games today. There's 3 games tomorrow. And then there's 1 game on Monday. The Patriots, they will play tomorrow night. That will be 8 o'clock at night, which I do not like. I was hoping for like 8 o'clock maybe 8 o'clock tonight instead of Sunday night would have been better. Or maybe an afternoon game like 1 o'clock or 4:30 on Sunday. Actually, I'll say this. Anytime today or 1 or 4 or 4:30 tomorrow would have been my ideal times. Not necessarily Sunday night where I got to watch the game and watch the whole Patriots season right at the end of the weekend before the work week starts the next morning. And then you got Monday night, which is a bad slot as well if you're a fan of that team. But I'll be watching pretty much as many games as I can. I'm going to be watching tonight's game between the Bears and Packers on my phone while I watch the Karen Reed movie tonight at 8 o'clock. My mind just said, it's funny. I just literally forgot that the Karen Reed movie's on tonight after I literally spent an hour and a half promoting it because I just moved on to the next topics. Oh boy. Too much on the head. But yeah, 8 o'clock tonight, I'll be watching the football game on my phone. Karen Reed on the TV. So let's go through some of these games. So the Rams are playing in Los Angeles today. They are playing the Carolina Panthers. I wish they would organize this a little better in terms of putting. One second here. I don't like the way they've organized their graph on the NFL page. They should always have it where it clearly specifies which team is the home team. One moment. We're switching gears here. Let's see what we got. All right, so it looks like it's actually in Charlotte. Oh, that's right, because the Seahawks won the West. So the Rams got bumped down because the Panthers won their division. They got a home game. So a 12-5 Rams team will play on the road against an 8-9 Panthers team. The same thing's happening in the AFC with the Steelers. The Steelers are 10-7, but the Texans are 12-5, but the Steelers get the home game because they won their division. That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. That's just ridiculous. So the Rams and Panthers will be on at 4:30 on Fox or the Fox One app. The Packers and Bears will be on at 8 o'clock on Prime Video. So I am going to tell you my predictions. We'll go through them a little by little here. I am predicting that it will be the Rams winning in Charlotte today in Carolina. And I'm predicting the Bears. I forget what my prediction was. I went with the Bears. I know I had a difficult time with that prediction. I'm struggling with Bears-Packers because it's a rivalry game, but it's also a division game. And division games are very tough. And division opponents play each other twice. They have a lot of game footage. And those games are always the toughest. But I believe in my heart, not really, screw that. I believe in my mind that the best decision is going to be the Bears. So I'm going to go with Rams defeating the Panthers on the road, Bears defeating the Packers is what I'm going to pick. But I will say, I think it's a toss-up game. I really do. I think the Packers could pull it off. I think the Bears could pull it off. I think that they got solid quarterbacks on both sides, solid teams on both sides. The Rams, getting back to that game, I think that they got, 25-27 is not a bad prediction. It's really not. You look at their win-loss records, they're both teams that have lost a handful of games. There's 7 losses for the Packers, 6 losses for the Bears. The Packers have only won 9 games, but one of them was a tie. against the Cowboys. That was that close game there in overtime on, I think, Monday Night Football. But I think the Bears, I think reasonably, either one of these teams could win this round and then go on further. And meaning, like, they could win the next round too, I think, is realistic. I don't think that this is a bad game at all. I think the Bears have quite a team. Obviously, the Packers do too. But the Packers, they're one of those teams you can't underestimate. They're going to fight you. They're like the Steelers. They're going to fight you. They're going to give you a hard effort, And I thought the Ravens were going to beat the Steelers. But it's going to be a great game. It will be. I think the Panthers game will be okay. But I think the Rams are just a really good team. Yeah, they got Matt Stafford at an MVP year. I think Drake May's MVP. That's my opinion. But it's going to be a good day of football. That's for sure. I'll say that much. So I'm going to go with the Rams. I'm going to go with the Bears. But I think I could be wrong about the Bears beating the Packers. All right, tomorrow. If you thought today was a tough day of games, guess what's tomorrow? Guess what? Sunday. Sunday's going to be a three-game day. Bills and Jaguars. Guess what? Just like the Packers and Bears, that's another difficult game for both teams. It's down in Jacksonville, but you got Trevor Lawrence and you got Josh Allen, both really good quarterbacks. And honestly, the better team, just like the Bears and Packers, the better team may not even win the game. It may just come down to turnovers, missed field goals, drop passes. That's right, snow in Chicago tonight. But yeah, it's gonna be a hell of a quarterback matchup. If you love quarterback play, it's gonna be very good. Now, both these teams have very solid records. The Jaguars are 13-4. You go through a 17-game schedule with only 4 losses, you're doing something right. The Bills, even though the Bills had a tough start, they lost to the Patriots, they came back and beat the Patriots. So they've only had 5 losses, 12-5 records, very good. I think Trevor Lawrence has become a really good quarterback. He's developing. And it's going to be a battle there, too. I don't even know what's going to happen, but I went with my prediction. I said the Bills are going to beat the Jaguars. I feel like the Bills have a lot more playoff experience. They've been in a lot of battles against the Chiefs. And guess what? The Chiefs are not in there. So I believe that the Bills might just try to exert a lot of effort into just willing their way to victory this year and placing themselves in a situation where they just get it done. But I don't know who's going to win. But if I have to pick, I'm going to pick the Bills. I'm going to go with Josh Allen in his experience. But again, I just feel like this is one of the closest games this weekend. Bears, Packers, Jaguars, Bills, in this very next game, which is coming up the Sunday afternoon. The Niners and the Eagles, the defending Super Bowl champions with an 11-6 record, Jalen Hurts against Brock Purdy and the 49ers. Now, I think that this is another game that is going to be close. I think that these are two teams. The Bills and Eagles are the two most recent NFC championship teams. Both teams have had Super Bowl appearances. Both teams have players that have been in the big games, the NFC championships, the playoff games, all that. And I feel like the Eagles this year have dropped down just a little bit. However, the experience factor, which usually plays in, may not play in because the Niners have the Super Bowl experience too. They lost to the Chiefs, but they lost to the Chiefs by a very small margin. And they were actually up in that game. Someone says, you got to go with the home team. In my initial post, I actually picked the Niners to win. I ended up changing it to the Eagles because I just like the way Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley play. I feel like you got A.J. Brown. You have a lot of talent on that team. You got a very good defense, but I think it's another tough game. So, like I said, to me, those are going to be the 3 hardest to predict games of the weekend. Packers and Bears, Bills and Jaguars, Niners and Eagles. The other 3 games, I believe, whether those games are close or blowouts, that I believe these will be the winners of these games. I believe that go back to the page here. I believe that the Rams will win, the Patriots will win, and almost said Steelers. The Texans will win. And we're going to start to delve into these games. Let's go to Monday Night Football for a moment. We're going to come back to the Patriots. I'm going to talk about them. Aaron Rodgers is one of the best quarterbacks of this century on the Steelers. His better years were with the Packers, no question about it. I believe that Patrick Mahomes is the best modern-day quarterback. I believe Josh Allen's just outside of that bubble. I believe the best quarterbacks of this century are Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, and Peyton Manning, those five. So Brady, Manning, Rodgers, Brees, and Mahomes. I think those are your top five quarterbacks this century. I believe guys like Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Phillip Rivers, Big Ben. I think those are all like the next level of guys in terms of being the next best quarterbacks. And then, of course, you have Drake May, who may excel. So the Texans, though, have been a team all year long that have won. Well, Peyton Manning should be your guy forever. He defeated Patriots twice in the AFC Championship, won you a Super Bowl. Yeah, that was a heck of a win over the Panthers in that Super Bowl. It was a great win for you guys. I thought the Patriots played much better in the second of the two AFC Championships. Actually, I thought they had a chance at winning that game a bit there, but the first time you guys beat us up pretty bad. But yes, I feel that the Texans are kind of the team to watch in terms of they might be the team to shock you. They might be the team that goes further than you expect. They might be the team to give the teams you expect to win a much tougher fight than you would expect. The Texans have a 12-5 record, which is on par with the 49ers, who are 12-5, with the Bills, who are 12-5, and with the Rams, who are 12-5. The Rams, of course, have been considered one of the best teams in the league all year, and some people still believe they may actually win the Super Bowl, despite losing to the you're not a Colts and Broncos fan, you're a Peyton Manning fan. Well, just tell the truth, all right? Let's see, you're a Colts and Broncos fan, so they made my life complete when he went to Denver. Okay, so you're primarily a Denver fan, of course, but you also like the Colts as well when Peyton Manning played. All right, I see. Yes, so I think the Steelers will. The Ravens were so all year long. The Steelers were so all year long, but the Texans have been beating some teams up. So I'm picking the Texans there, no question about it. So I'm picking the Rams over the Panthers, the Bears over the Packers, the Bills over the Jaguars, the Eagles over the Niners, the Texans over the Steelers. And again, I feel very comfortable with my picks of the Texans and Rams. My picks of the Bears, Bills, and Eagles. Wild card weekend can always be the toughest weekend to predict as well. Those can always be the toughest weekends because sometimes you just don't know. But then there's also hot streaks. You have teams later in the year that pick up their ability. They get better. They get stronger. You saw it with the 2001 Patriots. You saw it with the 2007 Giants. You saw it with the first ever Chiefs team with Patrick Mahomes that won the Super Bowl. They had a rough year, then they turned it up. So you have teams like that do turn it up, late in the year, and then they just went out. So there's a lot there. Now, the Patriots tomorrow, Justin Herbert, pretty solid Chargers team. I think the Patriots, what they have in their favor is they have good balance on both sides of the ball. I think that the Patriots against any team in the NFL have an offense that can compete with any other team's offense and a defense that can compete with any other team's defense. Now, that does not necessarily mean that I believe the Patriots have the best offense or the best defense. It just means that I believe that they can compete or contend with whatever any other team has. I also believe that the Patriots have enough weapons to get this done. However, I don't necessarily believe that the Patriots will win the Super Bowl this particular season. I think that they have a chance. I think they could also potentially lose this game tomorrow night, but I do believe they'll win because I think they have great coaching. Their health is pretty solid right now. There's some play. They got Milton Williams back. They've also got Will Campbell back on offense. So their health is pretty good right now. Booty on offense is questionable, but I think that they have enough to compete. Like, for example, CJ Stroud is a very good quarterback, and I agree with you, Laura. I think that in 5 years, I think we might have a nice history of his ability out there of performances and how well he plays. So I think he's going to be a great quarterback for years to come in this league. Definitely keep an eye on him. I usually just, if your team is out, usually just pick a couple teams to root for. Just, that's usually what I do, especially with college sports. I'll just pick a couple teams, to root for at random. Like I said, I think the Patriots, I think there is a reasonable chance the Patriots could win the Super Bowl, but it just comes down to the little things. Do they struggle during parts of the game? I don't know. I just feel like they have enough. I do, but I don't think. I'd say there's about a 5% chance the Patriots win the Super Bowl this year. 5%. And it depends on the matchups. But like I said, with their offense and defense, Drake May's playing well. You got Stephon Diggs, who's, in my opinion, a great second-tier wide receiver. Receiving core is good. Your offensive line has Will Campbell back, which is fantastic. You also have a backfield where Ramondre Stevenson has really, who did not have a great season last year. The first half of the season, he wasn't all that great. The second half of the season, Ramondre Stevenson is playing like he did during the season 2 years ago. He's been very good. And then you have Travion Henderson, who is one of the best rookie running backs this league has seen in a while. And then you have Drake May's just consistent quarterbacking. Defensively, you got Milton Williams back. You have a plethora of defensive talent back there. Marcus Jones. You also have Christian Gonzalez, who's a tremendous cornerback for this team. So I feel like, one of the best things about winning a Super Bowl is you have to have talent on both sides of the ball. You can't be like, if you look at a lot of Peyton Manning, we talked about Peyton Manning moments ago. If you look at Peyton Manning's teams that won the Super Bowl or even went to the Super Bowl, they had pretty good balance on both sides of the ball. If you go back to Peyton Manning on the Colts, when he used to lose to the Patriots in the postseason, they had the offense, but they didn't really have good defense. And that's what hurt them. When they finally did win, they had a defense to go. They had Dwight Freeney, Bob Sanders. You had some talent there on the defense. You have to have good depth. And most of the teams that do get to the postseason, for the most part, Peyton Manning went to 4 Super Bowls, but he lost 2. So he won 2, he lost 2, and he actually was 1-1 with both teams. He won his first Super Bowl with the Colts, lost his second Super Bowl with the Colts, won with the Colts, lost with the Colts, lost with the Broncos, then won with the Broncos. So he beat the Bears in Super Bowl 41. Very good game, rainy game. And then he lost to the Saints in another good Super Bowl. And then it was the Colts. And then he went to Denver with one of the greatest offenses in NFL history. He got destroyed 45-8 or whatever it was, 43-8 to the Seahawks, who had an all-time team as well. And then he won his last Super Bowl by beating the Panthers. And what ironically was performance-wise one of his least great years, but had a Broncos defense that year that was an all-time defense. Let's be honest. They had DeMarcus Ware, Von Miller. That defense was unreal. They were incredibly talented that year. And when you have a top defense like that, like the Seahawks in 2013, the Patriots in 2014 had a great postseason defense. The Patriots in 2003 and 2004 were great defenses. Obviously, the Ravens defenses, the Super Bowl 35, Super Bowl 47 were very good. But you don't always have to have a great defense. He should have been. Yeah, he should have been. There's been teams that have won Super Bowls with great defenses that didn't even have a good quarterback. Like you look at the 2000 Ravens, they had Trent Dilfer, who was a standard quarterback, but their defense was unbelievable. Ray Lewis and company. They beat the Giants 35-7 in that Super Bowl. Then you look at the 2001 Patriots, actually. A second-year Tom Brady with a lackluster offense, with a great defense, won the Super Bowl. Then the next year, the Buccaneers beat the Raiders. Warren Sapp, John Lynch, Rondé Barber on that Buccaneers defense. and beat the hell out of the Raiders because Gruden switched sides and pretty much knew what the Raiders' strengths and weaknesses were and destroyed them in San Diego in that Super Bowl. Absolute blowout. Their quarterback, though, is Brad Johnson, who nobody remembers Brad Johnson. Does anybody even know who Brad Johnson is? But yeah, Brad Johnson was a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Trent Dilfer was. Teams can win a Super Bowl with an old, Peyton Manning, when he won it with the Broncos, old and over the hill, injured. I mean, he had to retire the next year. John Elway in his final year was in much better condition when he beat the Falcons in Super Bowl 33 than Peyton Manning was when he defeated the Panthers in Super Bowl 50. But Peyton Manning was banged up. But the thing about Peyton Manning, like Tom Brady in his first Super Bowl 36 against the Rams, Brady and Manning were able to manage their teams. A young Brady, an old injured Peyton Manning were able to manage their teams where they didn't make the mistakes. They kept the team in the game, while their defenses and special teams kind of carried the team, right? And that's what's important. So you can win a Super Bowl in football with a moderate offense, or even a lackluster quarterback, or an old injured quarterback, or a young youthful quarterback like Brady, so long as you have the defense. But then you have teams like the 03 Patriots that had a great defense and a really solid offense, or the 04 Patriots who had a great defense but an even better offense than previous years with Corey Dillon and also David Givens, and Deion Branch, even better in 04 than they were in 03. So you have, that's a good point about the 86 Bears. They had Jim McMahon as their quarterback, but their defense, they had Walter Payton on offense, but they also had, that 86 defense, the 46 defense or whatever it was they called it, and they were unbelievable, So that's one of the things that happened. Like in football, you could have Tom Brady, but you may not win the Super Bowl. You look at, Peyton Manning in 2013, one of the best quarterbacks of all time, lost to Russell Wilson, who was a good quarterback, but was not Peyton Manning. But the Seahawks had a better team than the Broncos did in Super Bowl 48. So that was a cold weather game in New Jersey, actually. That was a good location. I wish they do more cold weather Super Bowls. But then you look at, what was I going to talk about next? Lost my train of thought there. Lesser level quarterbacks, but there are quarterbacks that aren't like Eli Manning beat Brady twice. Nick Foles beat Brady, but none of those quarterbacks were better than Brady. Eli Manning in 2007 was not a better quarterback than Tom Brady. Tom Brady was peak level in 2007, but people forget it's not just about the quarterbacks. You look at the other players on the teams. There's defenses, there's offensive players, that can determine the games. There's players that are going to make catches or like Wes Welker, drop a catch that might win you the game. Sorry, Wes. That happens. But then you have Super Bowls where the quarterbacks are pretty much evenly matched. Big Ben Roethlisberger versus Aaron Rodgers in Super Bowl 45. Rodgers was better, but I don't think he was significantly better than Big Ben. And I don't think that the quarterback matchup was enough to determine that game. It comes down, we'll get to Elway. We'll get to Elway too. But it's the players on the field. People like to say, Brady lost the Super Bowl, Manning lost, one of them lost. But you can't underestimate the teams, the rosters around these players. And if Patriots had a consistent roster every year, they would have won more often. They would have won even more. I think they could have potentially won, and this might sound outrageous. I think the Patriots could have won potentially 13 Super Bowls. You figure they won 6, they lost 3, that's 9. Then they had a handful of years where they were in AFC championships where they lost. And I think at least 2 of those AFC championships, I think they could have beat the 2006 Bears, and I think they could have beat the 2013 Panthers for sure. So that gets me up to at least 11. The 06 Bears, they beat the Colts. I think they could have beat the Bears. They beat the Bears in the regular season in 06. And then in 2015, I think they could have beat the Panthers in the Super Bowl. Because the Broncos beat up the Panthers. The Patriots gave the Panthers a pretty solid fight in that AFC championship. So I think that they could have won that. So there's a lot of opportunity there. But, like I said, Big Ben versus Rodgers. Another one was Super Bowl 44 the year before. It was Drew Brees versus Peyton Manning. Those are both great quarterbacks. Both, Peyton Manning had an all-time year. Brees was at his peak. It's the players. Tracy Porter picking off Peyton Manning for a pick six. The onside kick that Sean Payton called changed that game at the beginning of the second half. You look at John Elway versus Brett Favre, one of the greatest quarterback matchups ever to in a Super Bowl. But the Packers had won the Super Bowl the year before, and the Broncos won their first Super Bowl in what was a hell of a football game. One of the best Super Bowls we've ever seen. The helicopter spin and Terrell Davis playing with the migraine, yet still being MVP in that game, was unbelievable. It was an unbelievable quarterback matchup in that game. Of course, you had Shannon Sharp at tight end, Terrell Davis at running back. You had Mark Schlereth on that team. Steve Atwater was on that team. It was incredible. It was an incredible Super Bowl. Super Bowl 32. Another great quarterback matchup was actually Jim Kelly versus Troy Aikman. Now, people tend to laugh at the Bills, but Jim Kelly was an incredible quarterback. You don't go to 4 Super Bowls in a row by accident. Thurman Thomas, Bruce Smith, Don Beebe, Andre Reed. They had a lot of talent on those Bills teams. So, but they go up against teams like the Cowboys that were armed to the teeth. When you get Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, you got Emmitt Smith, Darryl Johnston, you got so many players in the defense, Charles Haley, later they had, other great players on that team. Leon Lett, who got the ball smacked from him from Don Beebe. That was a pretty funny moment. But, it all comes down to talent. The thing is that Jim Kelly was a better quarterback than Jeff Hostetler was in Super Bowl 25, to your point, Scott. The Bills had a better offense than the Giants in Super Bowl 25. But, the Giants had Bill Parcells as the head coach. They had Bill Belichick as the defensive coordinator. They also had Lawrence Taylor on their defense. And that came down to a field goal that Glenn Massouz is calling out right now, where Scott Norwood missed the game-winning field goal. And people forget it was actually a very good kicker. He didn't miss a single field goal the next season. But you never know. You never know who's gonna do what, because I think the biggest argument that I hear all the time in sports is, Nick Foles beat Brady, or this quarterback's better than that quarterback because. But I think people forget that on football teams, you have 52 other players. You have a lot of coaches. All these coaches are. You look at the end of Super Bowl 49. There was, I forget his name now, but he was the older coach with the glasses there. He was the guy that was scouting the Seahawks and realized they were going to probably run a certain goal line play that ended up resulting in the Malcolm Butler interception that won the Super Bowl. And people forget that there's all these coaches on these teams, coordinators, assistant coaches, physical trainers, physical therapists that keep players healthy all year long. Scouting teams, just all these people in these organizations, and people like to say, oh, Brady won these Super Bowls, but he lost these Super Bowls. And you can't underestimate everything that goes into an entire football team. It's not like basketball where the coaching staffs are smaller. Having a guy like Michael Jordan or Shaq or LeBron or Kobe might determine your team's success just simply for having that one player. But you look at Brady, not every Patriots team was equal, right? They were not, there were great offensive years with not so good, like the 2011 Patriots. They had Aaron Hernandez and Gronk. They had Deion Branch and Wes Welker, young Julian Edelman. They had Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis. But then their defense was a 32nd ranked defense, still got to the Super Bowl, battled the Giants to the end, but lost. It happens. It's just one of those things. It's a team game. But I think the thing about the Patriots this year, I think what gives them a shot is that they have enough balance to keep themselves in the game. Now, they might win. They might lose tomorrow. I think they're going to win, or they might lose the next week, or they might win. But I think they have enough on both sides. Take care, Ron. Have a good one. Free Kelsey. I think they have enough talent and coaching, especially the coaching. Mike Vrabel, as the head coach, who was a great coach for the Titans made a huge mistake ever letting him go. And then you have Josh McDaniels back, who was the offensive coordinator for a lot of those Patriots Super Bowl teams, including the 07 Patriots team that had the greatest offense pretty much in history, other than the 2013 Broncos. Who's the coordinator here, who's working with a second-year player in Drake May, who's got Drake May to an MVP level. Well, the team also went out and got Stephon Diggs, who was also Josh Allen's number one weapon for many years, and now he's Drake May's number one weapon. So this team has a lot of options here. I think they could do it potentially. But I don't know. I don't feel like I did. Like every year when Brady and Belichick and the Patriots were in the postseason, it was like they'll definitely be in the AFC Championship for sure. And there were a lot of years where they were just in it every single year, and you knew that they were going to be there every year. It's just a matter of whether or not they were going to win the AFC Championship, whether or not they were going to win the Super Bowl. I don't have that confidence in this team yet, but if they go out tomorrow night and they knock around the Chargers, it's going to be very interesting to see how this postseason plays out. You know what I mean? So it's going to be, you get the Denver Broncos out there. You get, that's a good team, very much with Bo Nix. Great defense, a Denver team that has not given up any games to the Patriots. It's almost a shame those two teams didn't meet during the regular season. But they got a good team out there this year. They have a shot at it. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I think that the number one thing is there's a lot of teams out there this year in this postseason that if they do perform, they have a shot. It's one of those years where it's like everybody gets a chance this year. It's not like, I think there might be one or two teams. I think like the Steelers and Panthers, you can cross them off your list. But the Rams, the Bears, the Packers, the Eagles, the Niners, I would guarantee you one of those five teams, Seahawks. Like I said, I'd guarantee you one of those six teams goes and that the Panthers don't make it. Like I can guarantee you that. But I could see a path for those other teams. The Bills and the Jaguars, the Patriots, the Texans, and the Broncos. I'd say those five teams, I could see a path to them to the Super Bowl as well. I don't see the Chargers making it all the way, and I don't see the Steelers making it all the way. So, thank you, darling. No, the Chargers aren't at full strength. So I'd say you have 6 NFC teams of the 7 that have a shot, and 5. So I'd say 11 of the 14 teams I think could have an honest shot at winning it all, or at least appearing in the Super Bowl. I'd say those 11 teams. But you just never know. You just never know what's going to happen. One team could have a bad day, or an injury could happen. And suddenly a team's just, we could tune in this weekend and suddenly, Herbert has a broken hand. We could tune in this weekend and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I thought the Eagles were going to go this far. And all of a sudden, boom, the Niners just take them down that quick. I mean, it's a kind of league it is, but it'll be very good. I'm not going to put too much pressure on the Patriots this year, but I do want to see this out of the Patriots. I want at least one playoff win this year. I'll be honest with you, though. I think anything short of playing in the AFC Championship would be a disappointment. Even though at the beginning of the season, my goal for this team was to simply go to the playoffs. I think based on the level of success that we've seen the Patriots have, I think that they're a wild card victory and a divisional playoff victory team and an AFC Championship losing team at worst. In other words, I think they can get the AFC Championship. It's just a matter of who they play in the second round. I think it's going to be interesting who they play. We don't know. A lot of it's based on seeding. So it depends on who wins, who loses this weekend. That's going to determine who we play. So it will be interesting. But I do predict the Patriots will win. I think they can win by 10 points or more tomorrow. I think they can do that. And I think they get a great shot. I do. I think they can compete with all these teams. I don't see the Patriots getting blown out by 10 points or more. Seattle's the favorite right now as well. And what's interesting for you as a Broncos fan is that the last time the Broncos and Seahawks were number 1 seeds, they played in the Super Bowl. Yeah, I'm happy that Mahomes is out of it. I think the whole league has kind of been, as Patriots fans, we kind of got a taste of the Chiefs, of what everybody thought about Brady and Belichick over all those years. But I think that everyone's kind of happy. The Chiefs are out of it. I think a lot of people, honestly, look, I really don't want to see the Niners or Eagles in it either. People might not like that comment that it might be Niners or Eagles fans. I'm going to tell you why. They've had their shots, but I'll say this about the Niners. The Niners did lose twice to the Chiefs, so if they get another shot, cool. But the Eagles, they've been in it a few times. Like, I want to kind of see, like, give me some other teams. Give me, like, I don't know if I even want to say the Rams. Packers, Bears, Seahawks again would be cool. I don't mind the Seahawks fans getting another chance because they, the way they lost their last Super Bowl. The Seahawks, honestly, look, I thought the Seahawks were going to be a dynasty 10 years ago. I was thinking when they beat the Broncos, I'm like, man, that team might be like winning it every year. And they almost beat the Patriots the next year, but then the interception happened. Once that happens to a team, they usually just implode. You see it happen all the time. They implode. But, that's the league. But I'm predicting the Patriots. So let's go with our final picks here. Rams over the Panthers. Bears over the Packers. Bills over the Jaguars. Eagles over the Niners. Patriots over the Chargers. Texans over the Steelers. The first game is at 4:30 today. The Rams and the Panthers. Ladies and gentlemen, Karen Read tonight on Lifetime at 8 p.m. Accused, the Karen Read story. Again, on Lifetime. Check your local listings and app providers to see if you'll be able to watch that. And we should be good to go. So, ladies and gentlemen, have a great afternoon. I'm going to get rolling here. My 2-hour show turned into a 3-hour and 21-minute show. Thank you to everybody out there. Enjoy the movie tonight. Enjoy the games today. I'll be back tomorrow afternoon to recap Karen Read. If that show gets postponed, I'll let you know, time-wise or day-wise. Other than that, I expect to go. And thank you guys for your time. For MazzaMedia, I am Mark. Have a good evening. And go Patriots. Take care, guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.